Well, the Prime Minister has slashed foreign aid in order to boost defence spending.
Bowing to pressure from President Trump, the UK is now encouraging Europe to step up too.
A new approach on defence, a revival of our industrial base, a deepening of our alliances.
But the move has drawn criticism. Charities warn the move could damage Britain's influence abroad.
A deal is struck. President Zelensky will also head to Washington this week as he agrees to exchange minerals in return from aid from President Trump.
I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to. It's a very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal, it could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things.
The Waleses in Wales, Prince William and Princess Catherine, will visit Pontypridd today, ahead of St David's Day on Saturday.
An estimated 1.2 million people in the UK have an eating disorder. We're going to be hearing what experts are doing to raise awareness this week of people's struggles.
Retirement crisis. Young people are at risk of working forever, as pensions won't cover the cost of later life.
And it's a British culinary staple, fish and chips. We're going to be meeting one young fryer up the who's making sure that the industry stays alive.
It's us young friars that will keep the fish and chip industry alive, so it's us that has to keep it, so we have to maintain that and bring in new ideas.
Never too early for fish and chips. And in the sport, football, 3 clubs with a chance to make it into the top 4 last night, but only one took it. Clues behind. In cricket, England play their controversial Champions Trophy against Afghanistan game today. And in boxing, Chris Eubank Jr. smacks Conor Benn with an egg.
We have some heavy rain today, also a bit of hill snow and some hail and thunder possible too. To find out more, stay tuned as I'll have the details coming up.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. This is GB News Breakfast. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Ellie Costello.
Now, I know it's only 6 o'clock in the morning, but seeing that deep fry going on there
I can
with
do
the
that.
chips, there are chips and there are chips and there's fish and chips. Fish and chips.
You're so right. There's
To
a
me,
hierarchy.
They have to be crispy. They have to be... People say fat chips are the best. I'm not a fat chip person. I'm a fat person, but I'm not a fat chip
You're not a fat person. You're a fat chip person. Well, you don't like the little bitty thin...
like
I like
fries?
crispy, yeah.
You like it
No. I don't care if it's an ordinary potato, but if it's more shriveled than not...
It has to be kind of a bronzed colour. Is that what you mean?
I don't like
crispy.
a big fat bit of potato battered.
Don't like a wedge.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I like a proper chippy chip.
Yeah, fish shop chip and chip is the best chip.
Very nice.
But you see, there are lots of people who have chip shops and who just can't do it.
Can't do a chip.
I agree with that.
You can walk past and you think, I'm not going in there, then we'll be able
But
to do
don't you know from the outside whether or not their chips are good, don't you think?
There's a smell. There's a certain
There's a
aroma.
smell and you know it's going to be good.
Absolutely.
Valentine's Day, what do we do? Go into the fish and chippy.
Very
It
nice.
wasn't the plan, but we saw the chips and...
And was it a sit-in fish and chippy?
No, I took it and ate it in the car. Very romantic.
My favourite was the Peter Mandelson fish and chip story.
Sorry, the what?
The Peter Mandelson fish and chip story in Hartlepool.
What's that?
And this was years ago, and he went up to Hartlepool, and it was when he was an MP, and went up there and said, so they've got the fish and chips, and they've got the green stuff, and he said, and I'll have a pot of that guacamole as well to go. And it was mushy peas,
The best
Peter.
bit.
Yes.
The best
So yes, we thought it was guacamole.
What would you have as your order?
I'd have cod and chips.
You'd have cod and
chips twice, please.
No, I'm a haddock man.
With curry sauce?
Haddock, I could have curry sauce.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that.
Gravy with it, yeah.
No, I don't do the curry sauce, yeah.
Just salt and vinegar. And a sausage, actually, guys. I'm just going to put it out there.
OK.
Not a battered one.
And will you say, when they say, do you want fish and chips, would you want salt and vinegar with that? Will you have them do it there and then,
Yeah,
or do you wait till you go?
Lots of both.
They have to.
please.
Very nice.
Yeah.
They have to do
They
it.
know what they're doing.
And,
Wrap it up.
haddock is much ignored, but I do think
I agree.
haddock is a meatier
I
type
prefer it
fish.
to cod.
Yeah.
It's very expensive now, though,
Yeah.
cod and haddock.
Yeah.
I know. You're talking about 12 quid
Yeah, it's
usually
about £12,
for
yeah.
fish and
But
chips.
nobody's there's no chip shop in the land open now.
Well, there's anybody, please, could at this time in the morning, sit down, eat full fish and chips? Because I could.
I think I could, you know.
Absolutely.
It's never too early.
It's never too early.
Anyway, let us
It's
know
never
what
too
your
early,
order is.
And that's why I object to places like McDonald's not serving burgers until 11 o'clock.
Right, OK.
They serve wraps and they serve those squidgy egg things that they do and whatever.
Yeah.
No, that's quite good, to be fair. Breakfast wrap, yeah.
But you can only buy a burger from 11 o'clock.
Well, I think you should take that up with McDonald's.
Oh.
I think they'd listen to you as well.
Which for us, 11 o'clock in the morning is pretty much 4 o'clock in the afternoon for most people.
It's the end of the day, yeah.
See you later, Paul.
Thank you.
Prime Minister has announced plans to cut foreign aid by £6 billion. I must admit, yesterday watching the news coverage on this, I honestly had to smile because BBC and Channel 4 particularly, hand-wringing on everything. They're cutting the foreign aid budget. Oh, my goodness me, it's the end of the world. What are we going to do? Now, I take the view that, you know, this is our country, our money. It's up to us to do what we want with it. If we want to spend it in foreign aid, fine. No one asked me. No one asked me to spend money in foreign aid. They just did it. So, like me, I suppose no one's had a say on where this money goes, but Channel 4 and BBC are wringing their hands about the whole thing. There's only so much we can do. We've got people sleeping on the streets here, with people starving, with people who can't pay their heating bills. And we're complaining about everything else that's going on over the world. We cannot solve the world's problems. So why are we trying? Give us the details.
Well, this is part of Sir Keir Starmer's plans to increase defence spending 2.5% of GDP by 2027, up from the current figure of 2.3%. So we are talking about 0.2%
It's nothing.
here.
It's nothing. It's no. They're trying to make out it's a huge increase. It's not. Here's what he had to say.
We will keep our manifesto commitment to spend 2.5% of our GDP on defence. But in light of the grave threats that we face, we will bring forward that target so we meet it in 2027. We will also set out a clear ambition for defence spending to rise to 3% of GDP in the next Parliament. We will fund the initial increase in defence spending by cutting our spending on overseas development, moving from 0.5% of GNI to 0.3%.
This man does my head in. He really does. It sounds as if it's the end of the world. It sounds as if he's announcing, you know, we've been invaded and you're all going to die in your beds. It's not. He's cut back on foreign aid budget and he's spending it where he should be spending it, on the British Armed Forces, OK? So you've got all the critics of the government and they're saying these are broken promises. There was a manifesto pledge. You would increase foreign aid. Didn't ask me, as I said, but there we go. Did they ask you? Is this decision just a move to woo President Trump? Yes.
Yes, it's true. President Trump thinks we should do more, and I agree with him. It chimes with my thinking on this. So this is very much my decision based on my assessment of the circumstances that we face as a country. And it is taken first and foremost to ensure that the United Kingdom and its citizens are safe and secure. That is the first duty that I have as Prime Minister.
Then why is he acting so miserable about it?
Well, he's trying to be the strong man on the world stage.
He's not trying. He's incredibly weak. He should be saying, right, this is our money, this is what we're going to do with it, and we're going to protect our people.
Well, he says...
But he's just going, whoa, we've got on the world stage, and we've got to make sure everybody's OK, and we're going to have to do this. Grow a pair, for goodness sake. Deputy Editor of The Spectator, Freddie Gray, on this one. Let's hear what he has to say. Frederick, good morning.
Good morning, Eamonn. Good morning, Ellie.
Well?
Well, what do I have to say? I quite agree with you, Eamonn. I think it's utterly pathetic and embarrassing. Whenever a Prime Minister goes to meet a US President, there's usually this sort of embarrassing, how are we going to impress the big chief? And now in the age of Donald, or Donald Part 2, it's even more ridiculous, because this is obviously being dressed up to be a very, very significant move. 2.3 to 2.5, and we're going to bring it forward to 2027. But as someone said yesterday, the Donald doesn't do decimals. He's not going to be impressed. The British public certainly aren't impressed, and it doesn't really make a material difference to either the armed forces. Yes, the cuts to foreign aid are something, but they're something that is quite popular. And the great contrast between Donald Trump, who will to a fault, will just slap a 25% tariff and, why not make it 30? We'll cut not just some foreign aid, we'll cut all of USAID's budget if we have to. The contrast between that and this sort of petty little tweaking from Starmer is it's staggering, and it just makes you feel a little bit embarrassed.
You were saying that it's a popular decision, and our poll of the day, because we want to know what you think, folks. Today, we are asking, is Keir Starmer right to cut foreign aid? Let's see what the poll of the day is. Right, to boost defence. Cut foreign aid to boost defence. We'll bring you the results throughout the programme, but there's what you do. Have your say on that. And forgive me, I interrupted you, Freddie. Ellie.
Freddie, interesting. You're talking about it being popular. I'm sure with many people across the country it's going to be popular, but not necessarily within the Labour Party. I mean, David Miliband, of course, the former Labour Foreign Secretary, saying that this is a blow to Britain's proud reputation as a global humanitarian. And then we had David Lammy a few weeks ago.
Let all those people die on the street, all those homeless people, and those people can't heat their houses. Where's the responsibility for that? As the Labour Party, as the Socialist Party, they should be looking after their own people first.
And then you've got David Lammy, who was critical of Trump cutting back on US foreign aid just a few weeks ago, saying that it was a strategic mistake because, of course, China invests so much all around the world, and he says you're allowing China then to creep in. So how do you think this is going to go down within Labour ranks?
Well, there is an argument, certainly on the left, the centre-left of British politics, that as Trump retreats from the world stage, that Britain has an opportunity to express its soft power more. And that aid is a useful form of soft power. I think that's highly debatable and contentious. I think Britain's soft power is diminishing all the time. I think Britain is posing on stage as a really serious hard power. We're talking about sending troops to Ukraine. We're talking about being the backstop of European security in place of where America is retreating from. And obviously that it makes sense to switch that money towards defence. But it's stupid to have this argument when we are talking about such fractions. And particularly on defence, there have been decades of neglect of spending for our armed forces. And we want to pose as a serious hard power in these situations, like Ukraine and like future conflicts.
And
but
I guess
we just can't.
I guess, Freddie, loads of questions remain as well about where this money is actually going to be spent, even though it is only 0.2% at this point in time. How are we going to make British armed forces great again? I mean, we need to start by boosting numbers, surely. Boosting
numbers? I mean, I think the real fear among people who know about this is that all the money will go on the backlog, on all the things that have needed addressing for the last 10 years. It's not going to suddenly mean we get a lovely, brand new, shiny army. Because, as I said, decades of neglect.
Do you think that Labour have made a mistake here by cancelling that fully funded plan, the Tories would say, by the last Conservative government to raise defence spending? I mean, that was on their desk when they first came into office, and Kemi Badenoch yesterday was calling out Sir Keir Starmer's dither and delay.
Well, and you actually think people voted for the Labour Party because they promised to boost foreign aid policy? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It was just part of a big, long manifesto. And I don't think anybody really... I mean, this hypocrisy that you've got Labour MPs, Freddie, who are saying, oh, well, it's reducing our soft power and our manipulation factor and whatever. Do you care about the people you're helping, or do you care about soft power? Just tell us because if it is about soft power, that's politics, that's fine. We can deal with that. But stop pretending you actually care about the people that you're sending this foreign aid to.
Well, quite. And of the foreign aid that's being spent, a large chunk of it goes on the people involved in spending that money. So I think, our budgets, our aid budgets, while they have helped people in the world, there's no denying that, it's not exactly pure charity. And, when Labour ministers start talking about soft power while talking about charity, you want to ask them, which one is it? Are we cynically using aid to increase British influence, or are we actually interested in helping people? Because we should be clear about what we're doing.
Very good point, Freddie Gray. Thank you very much. Good to see you this morning.
Freddie,
We'll see you in the next hour.
We'll speak again and we'll get people to comment on what you're saying today. Just to reiterate, the poll of the day, is it right to cut foreign aid to boost defence? What is your view on this? Have your say, cast your vote, and we'll let you know as the day progresses.
Yeah, if you want to get involved, scan the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/poll. Now, do you love fish and chips? I do.
We do, yeah.
You know you do. It is, of course, one of the greatest culinary traditions in this country. And today, the winners of the competition for the UK's best fish and chip shop, restaurants and fryers is going to be announced.
Well, ahead of the ceremony, our woman Anna Riley visited Abigail Barker at Miller's Fish and Chips in Haxby near York. She's one of 4 nominees up for the Dry Right Young Fish Fryer of the Year.
So make sure the fish is all nicely coated into our nice hot pan of beef dripping, and we just lay it in.
Fish and chip frying. It's a passion for 21-year-old Abigail Barker. She's a nominee for the Dry White Young Fish Fryer of the Year award, and Abigail hopes to secure the trophy for Miller's Fish and Chips at the National Fish and Chip Awards 2025.
It's really good what the Federation and Dry White do and run this competition, because it is us young fryers that will keep the fish and chip industry alive. So it's us that has to keep it. So we have to maintain that and bring in new ideas, and what better way to do it than the younger people. If it's a fish burger, or like in the past we've done a fish and chip burrito, so it's stuff like that we can feed everyone, and like you've still got your main basis of the tradition of fish and chips, but you can bring in the fresh ideas of even if it's fish and chips in a different way.
David Miller owns and runs Miller's Fish and Chips. He's very proud of Abigail's success in the contest.
I think it's just quite amazing that she's got to this far, to knock, from top, 20 to 8 to 4, to get to London in a first attempt. It's just mind-blowing, really. In our shop, we've won Fish and Chip Shop of the Year in 2018, which is quite a long time ago, but, it sets you up for your working life. You become on that cup and you're sort of held high. And it is like the Oscars of the fish and chip world, and it's just a great thing to be part of.
With costs rising, it's a tough time for the industry, but Millers believe the key to custom is in value for money.
The biggest challenge we've got is the price of commodities, electric, and obviously we've got the wages going up, but then I'm a great believer that 18-year-olds should be paid a proper wage. But so I think it is a challenge at the moment, but I think good shops who stick to good fish and chips, get your portions right, advise people why it's going up, I think you'll be okay. But I think fish is probably the biggest problem we've got coming this year, because the quotas have been cut to 25% on both cod and haddock. So that's causing a bit of a problem for us.
This family-run fish and chip shop in Haxby near York aims to batter today's competition in London. But win or lose, the awards certainly put one of the nation's best-loved dishes in the spotlight. Anna Riley, GB News.
Good luck to everybody taking part. It's a tough job. It's a hot job, particularly in summer, to be at a fish fryer and all that heat bellowing back on you.
And I'd constantly be eating chips, wouldn't you?
I'd be
hopeless. Well, don't miss tomorrow morning. The winners of the best takeaway and the best restaurant will be joining us live on GB News Breakfast after their awards tonight. And we might even get to sample some of their award-winning creations. Well, I can't wait.
The creations in Northern Ireland, we're famous for fish and chips. And
where are your best ones in Northern Ireland?
Well, it's all subjective, but there's one called Longs, Longs, in Belfast, which has got the booths and everything.
Oh, that's nice. The booth is nice.
And I've been going there since I was a child.
Oh, that's nice.
And my parents before me and all that sort of thing, yeah. So
it is so nostalgic as well, isn't it? You think of your trips to the seaside or your local fish and chippy. Yeah. It's lovely.
A thing we do in Northern Ireland, which they don't do anywhere else, in York or London or anywhere, is what we call a pasty. Pasty means different things to different people. You just have to come to us to get it. But you can't get it anywhere else but Northern Ireland, and it's very hard to describe what it tastes like or what it's like.
What is it, meat?
I don't know what it is, to be quite truthful. It's probably potato and meat and lots of things, but it's not particularly meaty. But it's in batter anyway.
And it's all fried in a thing together.
It's very nice.
Oh, OK, well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, let us know your order and your best fish and chip shop near you. gbnews.com/you'll say.
OK. some of the other stories you're waking up to on this Wednesday morning. The Ukrainian president has agreed to an American proposed deal for the rights to its mineral wealth. This is after President Trump backed down on some of the most extreme demands. President Zelensky is set to travel to Washington on Friday to sign the deal, which will mean Kyiv will contribute 50% of the funds raised by future developments of minerals and energy reserves to America in exchange for aid.
Accusations of Islamophobia are being used to suppress the exposure of grooming gangs. This is according to a report by the Policy Exchange. The think tank has warned that the term has been directly used to attack those who sought to expose the Rotherham grooming scandal.
Nearly 9 in 10 university students use AI to help with their studies. This is according to the Higher Education Policy Institute. It found a significant increase from just over half last year. It also revealed that 20% of students admitted to using AI-generated text in their assessments.
Prince William and Princess Catherine will visit Wales today ahead of St David's Day this Saturday. The couple will visit communities who've been affected by flooding caused by storms Bert and Dara, which hit the region late last year. They'll also learn how to cook traditional Welsh cakes. The visit comes as the Princess of Wales makes a gradual return to public duties following completing her treatment for cancer. Lots of you agreeing with you this morning, Eamonn. Alison said, just listening, waiting for the train and listening to breakfast. Eamonn is on it again about overseas aid. Just brilliant.
Look, my point is I'm not against overseas aid. I'm a very charitable person. I'm involved in a lot of charities. I'm involved in raising money for lots of people and causes and things. But the government didn't ask me about foreign aid and what they're going to do with my money there. I would like the money they send to countries around the world to be spent in this country. That's all I'm saying. Use it for aid, but use it for your own people, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, charity starts at home and all that. Brenda says it's about time we were consulted on how our money is spent. Robert says they need to spend the remaining foreign aid on our pensioners and our farmers.
Exactly.
And somebody else says if Starmer was serious about defence, he wouldn't be giving China the Chagos Islands.
Yeah, but wasn't he hilarious yesterday? Honestly, it was as if he was announcing World War III, and his whole face and his, you either want to do it, Starmer, or you don't want to do it. You either want to give money to the British Armed Forces or you don't. And by your face, you didn't want to do this, and you're only doing it to suck up to President Trump and to make it look whatever Macron got up to this week, all touchy. I mean, the whole Macron thing, it's all...
You're very French,
all this
very
bit,
tactile.
whatever, very French. Can we see Starmer doing that tomorrow?
Well, that'll be interesting, won't it? Because he doesn't have that up his sleeve. Anyway, we'll have to see. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll-say. Let's get a check on the weather now with Alex Burkle.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some heavy rain pushing its way across many parts through today, and even once that clears, there are going to be some heavy, perhaps even thundery showers following in behind. But yes, a fairly wet start for some of us. The heaviest, most persistent rain clearing eastwards through the day, taking a bit of a while to clear East Anglia and the southeast towards London and Kent. Like I said, behind it, some fairly frequent showers, and worth bearing in mind there will be some hill snow around over higher ground over parts of northern England into Scotland, and some rumbles of thunder mixed in too. But otherwise some bright sunny spells, though temperatures down a little bit, only near normal for the time of year, just about scraping into double digits. Now as we head through into this evening, still a fair few showers around, and some of these could still be a little bit on the heavy side. There could still be a bit more thunder, maybe even a bit of hail as well, which could cause some problems on the roads. Many places at risk of seeing a few showers, perhaps some more persistent rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, and a band of rain then sweeping round, also affecting the far northwest of Scotland. But actually, across the northern half of Scotland, through much of today and into this evening, it's going to stay largely dry with some bright or clear weather as well. Overnight, we are going to see that rain across northwestern Scotland and across Northern Ireland, edging a little bit further southeastwards, and also a bit more cloud across some central parts of England and Wales, some outbreaks of rain here as well. But away from this zone of cloudier weather, there will be some clear skies, and in the north across Scotland, where we get the clear skies, some frost is quite likely, even some icy patches perhaps first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, still a bit of a breeze towards eastern parts, lighter winds elsewhere with high pressure building, and that high pressure is also going to help clear away some of those showers. So a few showers around, particularly towards the west and the far east, but actually as we go through the day and more so by Friday, it's looking largely dry. Some decent bright sunny spells, but temperatures only near normal for the time of year. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Well, at 6:25, what we're going to do is hit the break. We're going to be back with Paul Coit. He's got all the sport, and we'll have a good chat with him right after this.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now, Egypt has discovered, well, I think it was a British and Egyptian team, actually, finding the historic discovery, the long-lost tomb of King Thutmose II, the last of the lost tombs of the kings of ancient Egypt's 18th dynasty.
Yes, and it's the first royal Egyptian tomb to be discovered since King Tutankhamun's final resting place was found in 1922.
A very exciting discovery, and here to tell us all about it is the historian and author Martin Whittock. Martin, the first royal tomb since Tutankhamun.
Indeed, and identified as King Thutmose II. Other pronunciations are also available. And as you say, it's the last of the lost tombs of Egypt's 18th dynasty. They ruled between about 1550 BC and 1292 BC. It had been known before this tomb since 2022 as Tomb C4, as its occupant was then unknown. But what's happened now is parts of alabaster vessels have been found which have inscriptions bearing the name of Pharaoh Thutmose II and identifying him as the deceased king, along, interestingly, with the name of his wife, Hatshepsut. Now, she's an interesting woman because after he died, she ruled as pharaoh in her own right, one of only 2 women to do so in ancient Egyptian history. Now, the mummy of King Thutmose II was actually discovered during the 19th century at a nearby archaeological site known as Deir el-Bahari Kashet, and it's thought it was moved there after it had been looted by tomb raiders centuries ago. So the tomb is not going to give us the kind of treasures that we associate with Tutankhamun, I'm afraid, but it shows us the architecture of these royal tombs.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 6:28 and it's time for the Great British Giveaway. If you want to be one of 2 new winners, each with a new iPhone, shopping vouchers and £10,000 in tax-free cash, here are all of the details that you need.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Good luck, folks. Football. Last night, Paul, how did it shape up?
3 teams could have gone into the top 4 yesterday, but only one managed to do it. We have Brighton 2, Bournemouth 1. See, Bournemouth, they could have ended up going up there, but they ended up losing at Brighton. Crystal Palace, I mean, how about this? Beat Aston Villa 4-1.
They did very
Crystal
well.
Palace had a terrible start to the season.
Sometimes you just, again, like Spurs, man, you don't know who's going to turn up.
Honestly, there's some strange old results. And Aston Villa, they've only got 1 win from 7. And they're not going very well at the moment. Fulham beat Wolves, so Wolves are still in trouble. They're just 5 points clear of the relegation area. So another good win for Fulham. Fulham could have the best Premier League finish that they've ever had. They're looking very good at the moment. And Chelsea, they're the ones that took their chance, but with respect, it was Southampton who were bottom.
4-0.
Only won 2 games, so they won 4-0. Yeah. So
are Arsenal in the title race or not?
No. Do you think so?
No.
Ellie?
No.
No.
I'm following your lead on this.
OK.
No.
Well,
Liverpool are in the title.
Liverpool, it's all really about Liverpool. But you know all the stuff that we've said, and and I've been told off about this by various sources, and I still believe there's truth in this, that Captain Black from Captain Scarlet is Mikel Arteta. We have
totally convinced.
Discussed this. Now, there's clues in something that Mikel Arteta said yesterday. So, Captain Black in Captain Scarlet.
Yeah.
He died and came back to life. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So that was the story.
Came back as a Mr. On.
Came back as a Mr. On. So I'm thinking, would Arteta give any clues about over his dead body, clues about dying, stuff like this? So he was asked yesterday, is there a chance that Arsenal may down tools and think we're not going to win the title this year? This is what Captain Black had to say.
Thing is that when you are there, you want more, and you want more, and you want more. And I'm not going to stop over my dead body. We stop thinking that way and putting everything that we possibly can to increase that probability of us winning and being better than the opponent and hitting that performance and those standards constantly, regardless of what happens.
Happened over his dead body.
See what I'm saying? Can we see Captain Black? And we've got is this a picture of Mikel or is this a picture of Captain Black? There he is. Oh, it's Mikel Arteta. There he is.
No, which one's that?
That's Arteta, right? That's at the press conference. That's Arteta.
That's Arteta.
Yeah, there he is.
It's uncanny.
Over his dead body.
Oh.
The clues, if you look out for them, are always there.
Are always there.
Always there. It's a big game tonight.
Can we talk about Thomas Tuchel? He had a nice day, didn't he, with the Prince of Wales yesterday?
He did. He did have a nice day. How much do you reckon he actually discusses? Prince William is the patron of the Football Association, so I guess, therefore, he's the governor. So Thomas Tuchel, there we are, met him at Windsor Castle yesterday.
He said you picking any Villa players.
Well, this is what I was going to say. The words were from the Palace, great to... honestly, I'm like Cameron here. Great to meet with New England men's manager Thomas Tuchel yesterday and hear about plans for the team. So who from Aston Villa will be representing England in the next game? First squad is next month. World Cup qualifiers, Albania versus Latvia.
Hey, you'll never guess what. One of the greatest sports broadcasters there's ever been, David Coleman.
Yeah, I love David. 1-0.
There's an auction today which is going to feature production notes he made for the Grand National, his OBE certificate and his typewriter. Ooh. His typewriter, which was an Olivetti Lettra 25 that he used to do his grandstand scripts.
Wow.
All up for auction.
Really?
think
So how many of his scripts that he's handwritten? You know what? I would bid for something like that.
You two should go along, I think.
Oh, that would be amazing.
You could outbid each other.
That would. Oh, yeah.
You see, these are all days that today's young producers, whatever, don't understand, where the presenters just come in and wrote the script.
Yeah.
They did all that, and that's the way it was. And it really was different in those days.
And also with typewriters, if you remember how Grandstand used to be, and he would be sitting at the desk, and in the background, you'd see all these people tapping, walking into a newsroom, the noise of the typewriters.
It was like Crime Watch.
It was, yes, exactly. Stolen typewriters. So, tennis, we got time for the tennis?
Yeah,
Listen, I really want to show you this tennis. This is something that happened at the Dubai Open. I'll explain a little bit about what happened, and often, you know, you get ball boys or ball kids, as they call them now, will get involved in something. So at the Dubai Open, Felix Auger-Aliassime was playing Alexander Bublik. Now, Aliassime, have a look at this. This is what happened, and I'll talk you through the game. So he hits the ball, and then as Aliassime, so Bublik is happy, he thinks he's hit a winner. Aliassime's complaining about something, and he's saying, the ball kid got in my way. So that's not fair. The ball kid, so the umpire is now talking to him, saying, OK, well, let's have a look at the video replay, because that is what Aliassime wants to see. So when you look at the video replay, he goes over, goes to hit the ball, but the kid, who's the ball boy at the side, goes to catch the ball. So they say, OK, fair enough, you got in the way. Bublik, who's had the winning shot, is really angry about it and saying, this is ridiculous, it shouldn't happen. So they play the point again. Bublik serves, hits it underarm, goes straight in, and Aliassime is really annoyed about this because he hits it underarm, which is just quite frankly not tennis. Well, and Bublik then takes the adulation of the crowd.
Is that against the rules?
Not against the rules at all.
I didn't know that.
No, you can serve underarm if you like. You can just hit it, do a little donkey drop, as we used to call it back in the day.
Easier.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, you've got Aliassime at the far end. He's thinking he's going to hit a first serve, does a little donkey drop there, knocks it over the net, and then Aliassime's very unhappy, and Bublik then is celebrating, and the crowd are applauding what he's done.
Bublik, I think. The other guys,
you know what?
The other guys
Quite clever.
moan.
Absolutely. And I hope the ball kid got away with it as well.
Have your say, let us know, and we'll reflect that next time Paul's back at 20 past.
With me donkey drops.
7. Yeah. Thanks very much indeed. Still to come, we're going through the papers this morning. It's Claire Muldoon and Quinton Letts. Join us for that.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highlands, the A833 is closed in both directions between Kiltarlilte and the A862 at Balcragan after an accident. In London, the A236 remains closed westbound along Western Road in Mitcham from Oban Way to Portland Road for emergency repairs. In Kent, the A249 is closed northbound from junction 7 of the M20 at Maidstone to junction 5 of the M2 at Sittingbourne after an accident yesterday evening. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking a quarter of an hour approaching the M25 because of roadworks. Trains have been stopped between Crowborough and Uckfield because of a signalling problem. And East Sussex, the A259 remains closed in both directions along Grand Junction Road off the A23 Palace Pier roundabout in Brighton because of an unsafe building. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 6:39. We're going through the papers now. Parliamentary sketch writer and journalist Quentin Letts and broadcaster and journalist Claire Muldoon. Morning,
Good
you
morning.
two.
Well, you talk about sketch writing, Quentin. You must have had a load of material yesterday with Mr. Starmer and the performance, and it was a performance of looking wounded and hurt and frightening us all about what he was going to announce. And all he was simply going to announce was he was strengthening British armed forces. We're not to applaud that.
Yeah, but Eamonn, this was quite a big one for the left to swallow. There was a major, actually, the British establishment, the elite, took a major smack in the chops yesterday with the halving of, almost halving of our international aid budget, which will still remain enormous, but it is going to be less enormous than it was. And I agree with you that the rise in defence spending is not enormous, but the political defeat that there's been for the left here is considerable. In that aid spending has been a great shibboleth for them.
Well, it was a manifesto pledge for them, wasn't it, that they wouldn't cut foreign aid?
It's more than that. It's a great totemic thing for the left, and actually, as was for the Cameroon Tories as well.
So,
Starmer
had
that's now
to
gone.
increase his defence spending. He's turning up to see the headmaster tomorrow, and he's afraid of getting his bum smacked. Really, with this. So he says, I've got to find this money from somewhere. I'm going to take it away from the foreign aid budget. Is that enough? Does that buy him time with Trump?
It'll help with Trump. One of the things about Trump, I think, I mean, he's such a crazy that it's very hard to predict exactly how he's going to carry on. But one of the things about Trump is that he likes to be creating waves, and he likes people to be jumping to his tune. And to an extent, Starmer has done that. So I think that will help him. It's going to be interesting tomorrow. The Prime Minister goes today to Washington DC, and tomorrow we'll have the visit to the White House, and it'll be interesting to see. Because Starmer is such a tremendously dull figure. Will he be able to make Trump boring? I think he might, you know.
But especially after following Macron. I mean, what's Sir Keir Starmer got in his arsenal now? He's made this decision on defence spending. He doesn't have that French tactile nature that we saw with Macron.
No, he doesn't at all.
So what's he going to bring to
Macron showed himself up to be a fool in Egypt.
Yeah, Macron was doing tremendous greasing.
You're not looking at him and saying, oh, well done, what a performance, that was really good.
But does it get Trump on side?
Yeah, well, it does. It worked for Macron, but I don't think Starmer could possibly carry off what Macron did, nor would we want that.
Yeah. Well, two things come to mind when I'm looking at this. The optic of Starmer, where he's actually positioning himself. I think he wants to be the leader of Europe. So I think he thinks he's, up against facing the lefties on his own, the pro-European Remainers on his own party, and then also against, tariffs being put on the UK from Trump. So he's trying to be all things to all men, and I don't think he's capable of pulling that off. And the second thing is, where's David Lammy in this as Foreign Secretary? What has he said about the cut to the foreign aid investment? And it's very much a reform pledge, to cut foreign aid to give to defence.
Well, David Lammy was very critical of Trump when he cut foreign aid, saying it was a strategic mistake, saying that it allows China to sweep in and make investments all around the world. Very quiet on this one.
Philip, not being quiet on this. Thank you for your comment, Philip. Philip says all foreign aid should be scrapped. We are not a charity to the planet. But it appears we are. It appears we are. What is the point? What is the true point, Quentin, of foreign aid?
Well, there may be 2 points to foreign aid. One, it might save the lives of unfortunates who are in a terrible plight. And the second point might be a sort of self-interested altruism in that there may be some politically finely balanced countries, in Africa particularly, where we may be trying to buy influence and stop the Chinese getting it.
And which one of those is the strongest argument?
To me, the Christian argument to me actually would be stronger, but that's because I think you should. That's a good Samaritan argument.
Yeah, and I actually think people believe that's what's happening to their money.
No, but the trouble with foreign aid, a lot of it has been so grossly abused.
Yes.
With corruption, and I said in the Mail today, I mean, the people who are really taking a hit yesterday were Mercedes dealers in Kinshasa. I mean, it's going to be a bad day for them.
So tell us the story there.
Well, you know, the way that the aid money has not always found its way to the needy, and it has been siphoned off by kleptocrats in some pretty dicey countries, and also by the aid workers, the whole aid sector. David Miliband, former British Foreign Secretary, now runs a charity in the United States, gets $1 million a year. That's in the charity sector. This is grotesque. So there is quite a lot of abuse of aid money.
There's loads of abuse of aid money, and it's been going on for years. You know, since the beginning of time. Look at Comic Relief. All of that money that was raised in this country did not go to fight malaria, did not go to fight the deaths, the very high mortality rate of children in Africa. Africa is one of the most corrupt continents in the world, and yet they're beholden now to China, and we can't get anything. And, of course, it was always hold your hand out to get the resources.
Claire, hold that thought. We will float it out there. We'll give you time to gather and come back with your reaction, and more from Quentin and Claire after the weather update. Here's with the sun shining in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and there's some fairly wet weather affecting some parts of more southern Europe. We have a band of rain sweeping in, affecting Madeira, also Portugal and western parts of Spain. Some stronger winds here as well. A little bit drier across more central parts, some decent sunshine on offer here, but still more unsettled weather affecting eastern parts of the Med towards Greece, towards Cyprus. There's some heavy rain around, but things are looking drier, not necessarily sunny, into the weekend. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Last week, Christie's Auction House in New York announced that it was holding an auction devoted solely to art created with artificial intelligence. Nearly 6,000 people have signed an open letter calling on Christie's to cancel the sale over concerns that the technology behind such AI art pieces exploits human artists and can potentially violate their copyright. And there are broader ethical questions at play too. Where do the boundaries of art lie? With me now is James Thomas from Martin Stanmore Auctions. James, very good to see you indeed. I don't quite see how you can have art without a human being. I mean, art to me is something which is produced by a human being which expresses something about the human condition. To me, that cannot be produced by a machine. How do you react to that?
I agree completely with what you're saying there. I think for us at Martin Stanmore, we're very much about sort of getting behind artists in a traditional method.
I sometimes say to my team, you know, I've got a piece to camera to do now. Find out what AI would say that I would say. And, of course, what it comes up with. It doesn't have enough knowledge about what I've just experienced, so it's not a perfect example. But it certainly gets the tone. And, therefore, I mean, I'm completely replaceable. I mean, the next series that I do... Say that. Well, thank you so much. The next series I do of Railway Judges, you could perfectly well have an avatar and AI producing words that sound like mine.
It is very scary. It is very scary. And I think for collectors and investors, it's a bit scary for them too. I mean, a lot of our collectors at Martin Stanmore that we speak to, they very much prefer things that come from traditional artists, not just sort of blue chip works, but also up and coming artists.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
We're continuing to discuss the state of the world and the state of the country in the company of Quentin Letts and Claire Muldoon. And guys, in the break we were just saying we've never known it so bad, you know, outside war.
Yeah. All over the country. I don't think anyone is getting a break. I don't think anyone wakes up and goes, God, that's great, we're going to have a great day today. And if you do, I applaud you. But if you don't, I can completely and utterly understand.
Well, the farmers were told yesterday at their meeting that no help coming from the government, no changes to governmental policy. So what have you got to say? It's front page of the Express.
Front page of the Express. 6 farming children have written to Rachel Reeves urging her, please don't ruin our futures. And I take that one step further. I would say, please don't ruin the future of the UK and of our ability to feed ourselves, to milk, to give ourselves dairy products, etc., etc. This is horrific. And the government have just put their blinkers on, put their earmuffs on, and are not listening.
But it links to the story that we were just talking about. The boost in defence spending is because the world is a dangerous place, and surely our food security is more important than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not even that, Ellie, notwithstanding that fact. But why do they continue with the abatement of, we're going to take your money, and you've got no way in hell of knowing where we're going to put it or what we're going to do with it.
The crazy thing about this inheritance tax raid on the farming sector is it's completely counterproductive and it's not really going to raise money. It's like also the closing of the forced closing of private schools. It's really not achieving anything.
Not.
It's just dogmatic left-wing politics. And if yesterday showed us anything, it's that the facts of political life are right-wing. And the centre-left is suddenly having to wake up and think, oh, my goodness, we're going to have to do things we've always said we're not going to have to do. Well, they will do it because they'll want to hold on to power. But the facts of life are proving to be right-wing.
But we are at risk. We are at security risk. If we are to believe that our increased spending on defence is because of that very reason, then surely we should be making sure, surely we should be securing our ability to take care of ourselves. And this is not happening because farmers are not wealthy people. It's the land that they own has the wealth, not the family. They're asset rich and price poor. And these children now are faced with these crippling debts, and the farmland will have to be sold.
But they're being forced out of business because one of the things they are being taxed for and we're being encouraged to do is to eat less meat. Eat less meat, ditch our vehicles, our cars and things, forget your holidays abroad, and this is all on the road to net zero.
Net zero can go and do one. It really can.
It'll be next. It will. They're going to have to.
I really hope it will be.
They're going to have to They're going to have to water it down.
Slow it down.
They're going to have to.
Yeah.
And David Miliband, Ed Miliband yesterday was in the House of Commons. He was looking so tensed. He'd crossed his legs. He's got long legs, and they'd almost done a double spaghetti cross. I mean, it was amazing to see how he'd crossed his legs. He's looking a bit tense, old Miliband. I think he's wondering if it's all going to go wrong.
Well, I think he needs to turn the heat down then, and chill out a bit. Maybe that'll help him.
One thing farmers are hoping to be able to do as well is to kill beavers. Have you seen that story in the Times?
That's horrific.
That will upset me.
That is horrific. We can't unleash the beavers at this time of the morning. It's uncouth.
I don't know.
Protect the beavers.
But you see, we've talked about this before. You know no consequence of the beavers. A beaver is the size of a Labrador dog.
But they build dams.
What beavers do you know?
Right. Quentin, let's finish on a happy note. Oranges. I love an orange. I love an orange, I have to say. I really do.
Yes, this is good news for you.
But they have to be an easy peeler, really.
Peel?
Oh, the easy peeler. They used to call call them something else, didn't we? But there's a story in the Star here, and the science editor, or no, the chief reporter of the Star, saying that oranges are apparently a good way of beating the blues. This is what the doctors are saying. And if you eat lots of oranges, it'll increase the presence in your gut of a bacterium called F. Prausnitzii, which sounds like a sort of East German mass killer. And it lurks in your stomach, and it helps you feel joyful.
Oh, well, that's good.
That explains why you're such a
joyful person.
You're so full of beans. Or
An orange a day
so full of
keeps
oranges.
the doctor away, it would seem. Claire, Quentin, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank
See you in the
you.
next hour. Let's have a check on the weather now with Alex.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some heavy rain pushing its way across many parts through today, and even once that clears, there are going to be some heavy, perhaps even thundery showers following in behind. But yes, a fairly wet start for some of us. The heaviest, most persistent rain clearing eastwards through the day, taking a bit of a while to clear East Anglia and the southeast towards London and Kent. Like I said, behind it, some fairly frequent showers, and worth bearing in mind there will be some hill snow around over higher ground over parts of northern England into Scotland, and some rumbles of thunder mixed in too. But otherwise some bright sunny spells, though temperatures down a little bit, only near normal for the time of year, just about scraping into double digits. Now as we head through into this evening, still a fair few showers around, and some of these could still be a little bit on the heavy side. There could still be a bit more thunder, maybe even a bit of hail as well, which could cause some problems on the roads. Many places at risk of seeing a few showers, perhaps some more persistent rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, and a band of rain then sweeping round, also affecting the far northwest of Scotland. But actually, across the northern half of Scotland, through much of today and into this evening, it's going to stay largely dry with some bright or clear weather as well. Overnight, we are going to see that rain across northwestern Scotland and across Northern Ireland, edging a little bit further southeastwards, and also a bit more cloud across some central parts of England and Wales, some outbreaks of rain here as well. But away from this zone of cloudier weather, there will be some clear skies, and in the north across Scotland, where we get the clear skies, some frost is quite likely, even some icy patches perhaps first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, still a bit of a breeze towards eastern parts, lighter winds elsewhere with high pressure building, and that high pressure is also going to help clear away some of those showers. So a few showers around, particularly towards the west and the far east, but actually as we go through the day and more so by Friday, it's looking largely dry. Some decent bright sunny spells, but temperatures only near normal for the time of year. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A833 is closed each way between Kiltaliltay and the A862 at Balcragan after an accident. On the M8 in Glasgow, two lanes are closed eastbound at junction 25 at Cardonald after an accident. It's sloped towards and past there. The A1 in Nottinghamshire is closed southbound from the A57 at Markham Moor to the A46 at Newark, where overnight roadworks have overrun, causing delays. In London, the A236 Western Road in Mitcham is closed westbound for emergency repairs. In Kent, the A249 is closed northbound from the M20 at Detling Hill Maidstone to the M2 at Sittingbourne after an accident yesterday evening. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and trains in East Sussex have been stopped between Crowborough and Uckfield because of a signalling problem. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance to be one of two big winners in our latest Great British giveaway, as we have two prize bundles that have to be won. There's two lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus us to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The Prime Minister slashes foreign aid in order to boost defence spending.
Bowing to pressure from President Trump ahead of tomorrow's meeting, Britain is now encouraging Europe to step up too.
A new approach on defence, a revival of our industrial base, a deepening of our alliances.
But the move has drawn criticism, with charities warning it could damage Britain's influence abroad.
So, following the announcement by the Prime Minister this morning, we are asking, is it time to make Britain's military great again, or is the soft power we will wield through donating foreign money more important?
A deal is struck. President Zelensky will head to Washington this week as well, as he agrees to exchange minerals in return for aid from President Trump.
I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to. It's a very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal. It could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things.
The Waleses in Wales. Prince William and Princess Catherine will visit Pontypridd today, ahead of St David's Day on Saturday.
An estimated 1.2 million people in the UK have an eating disorder. We'll be hearing from experts and what they're doing to raise awareness of people's struggles.
Retirement crisis. Young people are at risk of working forever, as pensions won't cover the cost of their later life.
And it's our favourite, fish and chips. We're going to be meeting one young fryer who's up for making sure that the industry stays alive.
It's us young fryers that will keep the fish and chip industry alive, so it's us that has to keep it, so we have to maintain that and bring in new ideas.
Oh, chips. In the sport, football, Chelsea get over their little blip and move into the top 4 after scoring 4, but no offence, but it was only Southampton. In cricket, England play their controversial Champions Trophy game against Afghanistan this afternoon. And in boxing, ahead of their fight in April, Chris Eubank Jr. smacked Conor Benn with an egg yesterday, which, if you're wondering, is not part of the Queensberry rules.
We have some heavy rain today, also a bit of hill snow and some hail and thunder possible too. To find out more, stay tuned as I'll have the details coming up.
Hello there, very good morning to you this Wednesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast.
If you're heading out this morning, I hope you're taking us with you. Maybe you're coming home from work and you switch us on in the car, but it's a good way to keep us company. Remember, we are on radio as well as TV and online.
Yeah, and on your smart speaker, just say play GB News. Loads of you getting in touch this morning on foreign aid, cuts to foreign aid in order to boost defence spending. Carl says charity begins at home, especially in the current climate. Dave says we are a compassionate country. Foreign aid should be limited to disasters abroad, not shrimp farming in Bangladesh.
Or bidding for the legendary sports broadcaster David Coleman's typewriter, Paul.
You know what? I looked up the auction.
Oh, yeah.
And I love an auction. And don't really want to talk about it too much because I want to bid for this.
Yes, yes.
So I've seen online, typewriter is old Olivetti typewriter, 80 to 100 quid.
Ooh.
It's not bad, is it?
Oh, that's fine.
Or there's a collection of his Olympic scripts, and there's like an Olympic badge and everything, which is right up my street. So about 80 quid.
I think you need to pop down there.
I think so. Well, you can do it online.
Do you know what his catchphrase was? Do you know what he was famous for? 1-0.
Oh, yeah, I did hate it.
That's what he used to say.
1-0. But the problem is that whenever someone went 2-0 up, that was where things went bad. He'd go 1-0, and they go, it's 2-0. 1-0. So,
1 plus 1.
But what a master he was. An absolute master. Absolutely. And I tell you what, he didn't suffer fools either, did he? David Coleman? No. But the auction, yeah.
Don't give away too many details.
I know, because everybody's going to start bidding.
You should go.
Or is it me and Eamonn who are the only people that would actually want to bid for this stuff?
Well, you mentioned his typewriter's up for grabs. About the same time, when I was a young reporter, I had a typewriter thrown at me.
Oh,
did you?
By my editor, yeah.
No.
Yeah. He said to me, "What's wrong with that script?" And I went, "I don't know." He said, "I'll ask you again, what's wrong with that script?" And I said, "I don't know." And then he lifted his Adler typewriter
You are kidding me.
At my ankles, at my feet.
No.
Yeah.
Happy days of the office.
Yeah.
Character building.
Oh, well, could say that.
Yeah.
You know, it's bad enough now if someone threw a piece of paper, HR, they actually threw a piece of paper at me.
You'd be dismissed.
I know, you'd go, yeah.
Throw a bad word at somebody.
Really?
Yeah, and then you're in trouble.
You are?
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See you later. You'll be in trouble at 20 past.
I know,
okay?
thank goodness you never call me any bad words.
Good lad. Thank you very much indeed.
Now, the Prime Minister has announced plans to cut foreign aid by £6 billion.
Now, this is part of his whole plan to increase defence spending to 2.5%. So it's up, what is it, up 0.2%, wasn't it?
Yes, so the current figure is 2.3%, so up 0.2%.
In other words, up nothing, really, and everybody's getting their knickers in a twist about it, and the money's coming from foreign aid, which a lot of it goes to fund Mercedes-Benz dealerships in Africa. But anyway, not for me to say. This is what the Prime Minister was saying as he was wringing his hands yesterday and almost bursting into tears.
We will keep our manifesto commitment to spend 2.5% of our GDP on defence. But in light of the grave threats that we face, we will bring forward that target so we meet it in 2027. We will also set out a clear ambition for defence spending to rise to 3% of GDP in the next Parliament. We will fund the initial increase in defence spending by cutting our spending on overseas development, moving from 0.5% of GNI to 0.3%.
Dear goodness. Now, not that it's for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, folks. What are we all getting so annoyed about here? The money should have been spent on the armed forces in the first place, or on the people who are dying on our streets, or who can't heat their homes, or the farmers who can't sort of run their own businesses because of inheritance tax threats. So, you know, is that not where the money should have been spent in the first place? It's our money to spend on you, our people. Or is it not? Because what are the critics saying, Ellie?
Well, critics have accused the government of a broken promise after a manifesto pledge to increase foreign aid. We're asking this morning, is this decision just a move to woo President Trump?
Yes, it's true. President Trump thinks we should do more, and I agree with him. It chimes with my thinking on this. So this is very much my decision based on my assessment of the circumstances that we face as a country. And it is taken first and foremost to ensure that the United Kingdom and its citizens are safe and secure. That is the first duty that I have as Prime Minister.
Yeah, but you're not spending any money, are you? Yes, you are spending money, but you're taking it from the foreign aid budget, which, let's face it, most people don't really care about. Most people are annoyed that there is a foreign aid budget because they weren't consulted about it. You weren't asked Do you want to spend money on a foreign aid budget? And if so, do you want to spend it on this project, or this project? Do you know what we should have, actually? I'm going to go to Freddie Gray on this one from The Spectator. Freddie, I think they should have one of these GoFundMe pages, and all these bleeding hearts that there are all over the country worried about foreign aid, you should be allowed to donate to it. If that's what you want to do with your tax or whatever, give it to that, that's fine. But those of you who don't want to do it, the money will go to the armed forces or the starving people around this country or the people who are homeless or whatever. You get the idea. What do you think?
I agree. I think the state should get out of the business of charity and people should get more into the business of charity. Your point reminds me of when billionaires say, you know, people like me should be taxed more. And the answer to that is always, well, you can give it away. You're always welcome to give it to the state. But on the subject of Keir Starmer and defence spending, these are very piffling amounts, particularly if we think that Donald Trump is going to be impressed by them. He's not. He doesn't think in decimal points. He thinks in large, broad strokes. He's interested in 5% defence spending, something like that. He's not going to be particularly struck like this. And I think it's Lord Mandelson, the new ambassador in Washington, is clearly trying to sell this as Britain is doing something really tough by cutting out foreign aid and spending more on defence. But Trump's people and Trump himself, they're not stupid. They will look at these figures and they'll think that's actually not that significant. It's not much of an increase. And if you do want to impress us, this is not how to do it.
How would you do it?
I think you do need to, if Britain is going to start talking about itself as the sort of European guarantor of security, we need a lot more spending on defence. If we're going to be sending troops to Ukraine and have a serious presence there, if we're going to be the person that stands up to Russia in Europe, we're going to need at least 5%, I'd have thought, in the future. It's not easy because we're bankrupt as a country, but then perhaps we should stop grandstanding on the stage.
Well, interesting. What do you think of the way that Keir Starmer is positioning himself? Because it does appear as though he wants to be leading Europe in all of this, and they're calling for Europe to up defence spending this morning after that announcement yesterday. But then we've also got him cozying up to President Trump tomorrow. I mean, can he do both?
I think it's very difficult for him. I think political gravity is pulling the British Prime Minister into a position where he could be quite a strong position between Europe and America, as America pulls away from Europe, as Europe panics about its own security, about its existential future. I think that could be a great opportunity for British Prime Minister. The problem is it doesn't sit naturally with a Labour leader, and particularly not with Keir Starmer. He's much more interested in a European reset than he is with finding some sort of accommodation with Trump's America.
And would President Trump allow that for Sir Keir Starmer to straddle both sides, if you will? Or will he want him to choose to stick with the US or stick with Europe, with tariffs, of course, over Sir Keir Starmer's head at all times?
Well, I suspect what will happen, because it always happens when Trump meets a foreign leader, is that the photos will be nice, there'll be jokes, there'll be smiles. Donald Trump will say, you know, this is actually a great guy. I really like this guy. And the British press will write this up as a great, triumph for British diplomacy, but the fundamentals won't change.
Freddie, I have to say, people are getting very hot under the collar about this. A lot of reaction to us this morning. John is saying, with all the lefties shrilling about foreign aid, it gets me wondering how many left-wing virtue-signalling vanity projects it is actually funding. Darren says, 2 words Keir said that really worried me was fully costed. When Starmer and Lammy meet President Trump, I wonder if they will ask him to disregard all the hateful things they said about him previously. And Philip says, well, he won't because Trump never forgets and he never forgives. A lot of anger, Ellie, towards India. Foreign aid, Marcus, for instance, here saying foreign aid paid to India is too much because they have their own space program. It's unacceptable, Freddie. People don't like the fact that they think India could pay for a lot of their own stuff themselves and don't. So why are we paying for it?
Well, quite. Donald Trump recently ripped the Band-Aid off US aid and revealed it to be a kind of absurd series of Ponzi schemes for various groups. And I think British foreign aid, it's long been unpopular. People know that we're wasting this money. They know that it's not going, very often not going to the people that it should go to. It does sometimes. We shouldn't be too cynical about it. But people feel that Britain needs to spend more money at home. We've got a lot of things that need fixing in the British economy. And we're not really in a position to be acting as a benevolent world power. And Donald Trump has shown the way on this. I mean, I think Donald Trump has proved that foreign aid is not a political vote winner. I'll be very interested to hear your poll. Have we had any results on your poll yet?
Let me just see, have we got an update on this as I read the question out to people? Because we are asking, is Keir Starmer right to cut foreign aid to boost defence? Your thoughts on that, which we have been reflecting, and it all seems to be that you think he was right to do this. So any figure, any latest figure?
We've got 99% say yes, 1% say no so far. Freddie Gray, I think it's pretty resounding, isn't it?
The great British people have spoken. And the answer is clear. I mean, it's been a bugbear of British people, of voters and American voters for a long time. And finally, it takes a very long time for government to catch up to the way people are thinking on such matters.
Well, let's hope they're watching GB News this morning then, Freddie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Freddie, appreciate that. Got to leave it. Thank you very much indeed for getting so many people giving a reaction. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And but that's it about governments listening. Politicians do not listen to you. You put them in power, you vote for them, whatever. They do what they want when they're there, and they don't do, whether it was Cameron voting for foreign aid and bringing in foreign aid. And as an interviewer, I used to say, but what's the real reason you're giving this money to India or whatever the heck it happens to be? And the real reason always is there's something in it for us. But they won't say what that something is, and it's called soft power. Now, you can debate it or not. I personally am of the view the real urgency is in our own country and our duty. Starmer talks about what his primary duty is, to protect the country and whatever. His primary duty is to make sure people here have a life, can afford their life. Goodness me, you can't afford your heating bill, you can't afford your gas bill, you can't afford your rent, you can't afford... There's so many things we can't afford. Why isn't somebody doing something about that? Absolutely scandalous and ridiculous, because they don't listen. Have your say, get in touch with us today. Your say, that's what it is, and we'll reflect that throughout the programme.
If you want to get involved in today's poll, you can head to gbnews.com/poll. Now, it's all
made me hungry, that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Let's talk about one of our favourite things, shall we?
Yes.
Fish and chips. Today, the winners of the competition for the UK's best fish and chip shops, restaurants and fryers will be announced.
Well, our Anna Riley, ahead of the ceremony tonight, visited Abigail Barker at Miller's Fish and Chips in Haxby. Haxby's near York, and she's one of 4 nominees up for the Dry White Young Fish Fryer of the Year.
It's a bit of a mouthful.
So make sure the fish is all nicely coated into our nice hot pan of beef dripping, and we just lay it in.
Fish and chip frying. It's a passion for 21-year-old Abigail Barker. She's a nominee for the Dry White Young Fish Fryer of the Year award, and Abigail hopes to secure the trophy for Miller's Fish and Chips at the National Fish and Chip Awards 2025.
It's really good what the Federation and Dry White do and run this competition, because it is us young fryers that will keep the fish and chip industry alive. So it's us that has to keep it. So we have to maintain that and bring in new ideas, and what better way to do it than the younger people. If it's a fish burger, or like in the past we've done a fish and chip burrito, so it's stuff like that we can feed everyone, and like you've still got your main basis of the tradition of fish and chips, but you can bring in the fresh ideas of even if it's fish and chips in a different way.
David Miller owns and runs Miller's Fish and Chips. He's very proud of Abigail's success in the contest.
I think it's just quite amazing that she's got to this far, to knock, from top, 20 to 8 to 4, to get to London in a first attempt. Is just mind-blowing, really. In our shop, we've won Fish and Chip Shop of the Year in 2018, which is quite a long time ago, but, it sets you up for your working life. You become on that cup and you're sort of held high. And it is like the Oscars of the fish and chip world, and it's just a great thing to be part of.
With costs rising, it's a tough time for the industry, but millers believe the key to custom is in value for money.
The biggest challenge we've got is the price of commodities, electric, and obviously we've got the wages going up, but then I'm a great believer that 18-year-olds should be paid a proper wage. But so I think it is a challenge at the moment, but I think good shops who stick to good fish and chips, get your portions right, advise people why it's going up, I think you'll be okay. But I think fish is probably the biggest problem we've got coming this year because the quotas are being cut like to 25% on both cod and haddock. So that's causing a bit of a problem for us.
This family-run fish and chip shop in Haxby near York aims to batter today's competition in London. But win or lose, the awards certainly put one of the nation's best-loved dishes in the spotlight. Anna Riley, GB News.
Ooh.
It makes me hungry.
The batter has to be
It's
right.
all in the batter.
A bit fluffier and furry and...
But then crunchy on the outside.
Crunchy.
Yeah, with lots of salt and lots of vinegar. Well, don't miss tomorrow morning. You're going to miss tomorrow morning. I bet you wish you were in tomorrow because the winners of the best takeaway and the best restaurant will be joining us live on GB News Breakfast.
Might come in.
After their awards tonight, because they might even bring some samples of their award-winning
there's
creations.
no point them coming in unless they do have some
Unless they come bearing gifts for us.
Let's have a look at some of the news stories you're waking up to on this Wednesday morning. And more than 2,000 small boat migrants have crossed illegally from France since the beginning of the year. 2,000. GB News can exclusively reveal these figures this morning. It's a milestone which was reached last night when the border force vessel Typhoon arrived at Dover with at least 138 migrants on board. They were picked up from 2 boats that made it into UK waters yesterday evening.
Accusations of Islamophobia are being used to suppress the exposure of grooming gangs. That's according to a report by the Policy Exchange. The think tank has warned that the term has been directly used to attack those who sought to expose the Rotherham grooming scandal.
Nearly 9 in 10 university students, 90%, use AI to help them with their studies, according to a report from the Higher Education Policy Institute. It found a significant increase from just over 50% last year, and it also revealed that 20% of students admitted to using AI-generated text. The survey indicates a growing reliance on AI tools amongst students to cheat.
Prince William and Princess Catherine will visit Wales today ahead of St David's Day on Saturday. The couple will visit communities who've been affected by flooding caused by storms Bert and Dara, which hit the region late last year. They'll also learn how to cook traditional Welsh cakes. The visit comes as the Princess of Wales makes a gradual return to public duties following completing treatment for cancer.
That story about Islamophobia being used as an excuse to cover up for these child groomers, these child abusers in the land. Rather than worry about that, we should be doing more to expose that and making that clear, because the longer I am in this business of doing what I do, the more people I come across, the more stories I'm told, and the more rife, and it continues, it's allowed to continue, particularly in certain communities, and they have sisters, they have wives, they have children who know that these men do this, and they sit out in laundrettes, they sit in gyms, they sit in newsagents, various things where they entice these children to come in and visit them, and you see them, there's somebody out there that sees them, and we should be doing much more to expose them and shame them. So that's my view on that.
Well, thankfully, we've got the likes of Charlie Peters on this channel, who's been doing such a good job at exposing the grooming gang scandal in this country. And we'll keep talking about it here on GB News.
Right, now let's talk about the weather. Hello, good morning, Alex Burkle.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some heavy rain pushing its way across many parts through today, and even once that clears, there are going to be some heavy, perhaps even thundery showers following in behind. But yes, a fairly wet start for some of us. The heaviest, most persistent rain clearing eastwards through the day, taking a bit of a while to clear East Anglia and the southeast towards London and Kent. Like I said, behind it, some fairly frequent showers, and worth bearing in mind there will be some hill snow around over higher ground over parts of northern England into Scotland, and some rumbles of thunder mixed in too. But otherwise some bright sunny spells, though temperatures down a little bit, only near normal for the time of year, just about scraping into double digits. Now as we head through into this evening, still a fair few showers around, and some of these could still be a little bit on the heavy side. There could still be a bit more thunder, maybe even a bit of hail as well, which could cause some problems on the roads. Many places at risk of seeing a few showers, perhaps some more persistent rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, and a band of rain then sweeping round, also affecting the far northwest of Scotland. But actually, across the northern half of Scotland, through much of today and into this evening, it's going to stay largely dry with some bright or clear weather as well. Overnight, we are going to see that rain across northwestern Scotland and across Northern Ireland, edging a little bit further southeastwards, and also a bit more cloud across some central parts of England and Wales, some outbreaks of rain here as well. But away from this zone of cloudier weather, there will be some clear skies, and in the north across Scotland, where we get the clear skies, some frost is quite likely, even some icy patches perhaps first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, still a bit of a breeze towards eastern parts, lighter winds elsewhere with high pressure building, and that high pressure is also going to help clear away some of those showers. So a few showers around, particularly towards the west and the far east, but actually as we go through the day and more so by Friday, it's looking largely dry. Some decent bright sunny spells, but temperatures only near normal for the time of year. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Great British giveaway. OK, we're asking you to have a go with this one this morning because you could be one of two new winners.
Yep, here are all of the details that you need.
Don't miss your chance to be one of two big winners in our latest Great British giveaway, as we have two prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Tell you what we're going to do next. I mean, obviously the Prime Minister hand-wringing and talking about boosting the armed forces to the pitiable 0.2% increase. But we were once a military superpower. Should we be again? Is it time to make Britain's military great again? Going to be debating that. We want your views next.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, joining us in the studio now is Chia Eaglin and Erin Cobb from Clark's Farm Greyhound Rescue, who have brought along two very special guests. This is Duchess.
So Duchess
and
is the one I'm stroking. This is Duchess, isn't it? Our lady joining us this morning, and then over there is Vieira.
Vieira's a chap, isn't he? And Duchess is a lady. So,
talk to us about their history. Now, they used to be racing dogs, didn't they? But now they're looking for a home.
Yeah, so both of these dogs were racing greyhounds. They have retired recently. So now we are getting them ready and prepared to go into a forever home, essentially.
So anyone watching Make sure you get on the Clark's Farm website later on today, because these guys are up for adoption. And I mean,
and they are very cute.
Look how gorgeous.
Look how well behaved they are as well.
Look at you.
They were a little bit excited when they came in because it's their first time on TV and they wanted to make a good impression.
They did.
Now
they're both looking, aren't they? They know what's up on the profit here. Now, talk to us about greyhounds as a breed. If anyone was going to adopt a greyhound, what would they expect?
I'd say the first thing is couch potatoes. They are the most lazy dog ever.
Really? You wouldn't expect that because of the background?
Everyone has this massive misconception that they need loads of exercise, loads of walks, but they are actually, you know, quite happy with 2 20-minute walks a day. They are so laid back.
Yeah.
Easy.
That's
as long as they're able to have their moments of madness, zoomies, you know, they do get the sillies, of course. But once they've had that, they are so happy to just chill out on the sofa with you. Usually,
they've all got different personalities, and it's just great to see. Even though some of them,
Dutch just perched on the back of your head.
Dutch is going to fall asleep. You're on TV, Dutch.
She's watching.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
OK, so our defence spending will be increased. It's all smoke and mirrors, but anyway, it's gone up a tiny percent. But does that mean our military will be up to scratch? No, it doesn't, because they'll have to, all the funding there hasn't been for the past 10 or 15 years, you have to get that back first, and that's going to take a long time.
Well, we're taking a look back at our history as a military power as inspiration for the future.
Britain's military history is a tapestry of grit, strategy and moments that changed the world. From epic battles on land and sea to feats of endurance and innovation. But it was during the 16th and 17th centuries that Britain's military power truly began to grow, with the 20th century defined by 2 world wars. The Royal Navy, founded in the 16th century, became the backbone of Britain's global influence, dominating the seas and expanding the British Empire. Meanwhile, the British Army was formally established in 1660, playing a key role in conflicts such as the Napoleonic Wars, the 2 World Wars, and more recent operations around the world. In 1918, the Royal Air Force was created, becoming instrumental in World War II, particularly in the Battle of Britain. Over time, the military evolved to meet modern challenges, including counter-terrorism and cyber warfare. Today, the British Armed Forces remain a formidable force, operating globally as part of NATO and international peacekeeping efforts.
So is it time to make Britain's military great again? We're joined by retired Royal Navy officer and former NATO commander, that's Rear Admiral Chris Parry, and here in the studio with us, political commentator Andy Twelves. Andy, everybody's saying about bloomin' time that this had happened. Why aren't you as enthusiastic about this?
Well, I think foreign aid is a bit more complex than just giving money to countries, you know, in the East and, you know, in Eastern Europe. I think it is a lot more complex. You know, foreign aid exists to build our influence both financially and socially. You know, it reassures trust and faith in the pound. It increases our level of standing in international communities. It's not quite as simple as just giving money to India. But I do appreciate that, you know, Keir Starmer was correct when he said, you know, hard decisions need to be taken as, you know, Europe is in crisis. But I do think that there are ways of increasing the defence budget without cutting things that, you know, fundamentally do improve our international standing.
Rear Admiral Chris Parry, what do you think?
Well, government's always a choice, isn't it? But the one thing you don't get to choose is how you defend your country. If you don't defend your country and deter your enemies, you don't get to make choices about where the rest of your money is going to go.
Chris, the Prime Minister will make out that he's done something groundbreaking and, this is a huge increase for defence spending and whatever. The truth is, it isn't. Can you back me up on that? I mean, because that's what I think. 0.2%, it's hardly groundbreaking, is it?
Yeah, Eamonn, it's 0.12%, but you're absolutely right. There's smoke and mirrors going on here. It amounts to an additional 6 million. The idea that 6 billion. The idea that it's 13.7 billion is a complete fabrication. And it's what we call creative accounting. It's what every year we used to think the Treasury is pushing in our direction in the Ministry of Defence. And so it's going to make very little difference, to tell you the truth. To give you some idea, during the Cold War, we spent 5.2% of GDP, 5.2, and in a situation really which was more stable than it is today. So we're way short of what we should be spending on defence. And we really need to get our act together with regard to where we want to be in the world, what our position is. We're a permanent member of the UN Security Council. We've got global interests, as your commentator said. And if we want to boost our economic power, we actually need our military power to back up all the other soft power that we seek to project around the world.
And Andy, the soft power that we're talking about there comes in different forms. And a lot of people, they just don't understand why we don't look after our own first. There's so many needy people in this country. Why isn't that money being spent in the United Kingdom?
Well, I don't think it's an either or. Of course, there are other, savings that we could make in government. Even in the MOD alone, the way that they procure products and providers, the amount of money they could save on procurement process alone would easily fund the MOD budget for years and years and years. There are certainly other ways that we can, save money and spend it in the UK. But again, the soft power does actually benefit people in the UK. It does restore faith in the pound, increases trust in the pound, which does, at the end of the day, help people in the United Kingdom. But I completely agree. It shouldn't be an either or. We should be, spending at home as well as a way to, create Britain into the best society we can.
OK. Gentlemen, we're out of time, I'm afraid, but Rear Admiral Chris Parry and Andy Twelves, really good to see you this morning. Thank you very much for your time. Let us know what you think at home, gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, coming up, we're going to be joined by Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A833 is closed in both directions between Kiltalilte and the A862 at Balcragan after an accident. On the M8 in Glasgow, 2 lanes are closed eastbound after an accident at junction 25 at Cardonald, causing delays. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed where someone's broken down on the eastbound exit at junction 29 for the M1 at the Loft House interchange. In London, the A236 is closed westbound along Western Road in Mitcham for emergency repairs. In Kent, the A249 is closed northbound from the M20 at Detling Hill Maidstone to the M2 at Sittingbourne after an accident yesterday evening. Train services have been suspended through Uckfield and Buxted because of a signalling problem, and in East Sussex the A259 remains closed each way along Grand Junction Road in Brighton because of an unsafe building. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, we've got Paul, he's got the sport. And Paul, Afghanistan to begin with.
Yes, playing England in cricket. Now, there's a lot of controversy around this because basically there is not allowed to be an Afghanistan women's cricket team. The country is not allowing this. So there's been talk. England are playing Afghanistan. This is in the Champions Trophy, which is happening in Pakistan and UAE at the moment. So they're playing Afghanistan. England have to win. But as always is the case when it gets political, you get a captain of a sports team is the one that has to front up, not only for the ICC, but for the country, and everybody puts him in that situation, and I think it's very tough. So anyway, this is what Joss Butler had to say.
We're very saddened at the plight of women and girls in Afghanistan at the moment and the struggles that they're facing. But we hope that the game tomorrow can be a source of hope and enjoyment in what's obviously a tough time at the moment. So I think we're really excited about the match. Sport has a great power to unite people and give hope, and that's what we hope this game will do.
Well, that's the England cricket captain there. We now go to the Defence Secretary, James Cartledge, who joins us today. James, how do you feel today? I mean, you've got this extra money to play with. It's come your way. You know, you've got to accept small victories, and this is a small victory. Will it stop there?
Well, it's a small victory to have been appointed Defence Secretary by yourself this morning. It's very kind of you. Unfortunately, I am still the shadow. Sorry? Yeah, look, I'm really pleased because, as you know... Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, yeah. Hello?
Apologies. Right. I think I can hear you.
We've got you, James Cartledge, yeah, carry on.
At the weekend... OK. So at the weekend, I wrote an article, Kemi wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, and I wrote an op-ed in one of the Sunday papers saying that we should go further and faster on defence spending, and actually we said that the aid budget should be one of the ways we fund this. So obviously, in principle, pleased that they've increased defence spending. I think we're going to have to look in detail at the numbers, because I think you had on your show a very good point earlier that there seems to be a big difference between what the Prime Minister said yesterday and what the actual amount is, but that's something we're going to have to interrogate. Obviously, that's our job as the opposition. But, the big picture is, on something like this, we do have to kind of look at the national interest with the threats we face. We think it's the right thing to do.
Yes, tell us a bit more about your concern about the numbers in this defence commitment not adding up, because the Prime Minister claiming the increase would be about £13.4 billion a year, right? But you think there could be a shortfall here?
Yes, so I was looking at the numbers while I was sitting next to Kemi as she was responding to the statement. And my maths was, well, if the aid budget goes from 0.5 to 0.3. Obviously, it had gone from 0.7 to 0.5 when we were in government during the pandemic. If it goes from 0.5 to 0.3, I think we can all work out, I think that's 40%. That suggests about 6 billion, but the Prime Minister said 13.4. Now, earlier, I think on your programme, Pat McFadden, who is one of the key government ministers, said, well, the rest is to do with growth, but that's a very vague explanation. So I do think we need a proper explanation of what it means. I mean, because it's not the only point. You'll have heard he said 2.6%. Now, the 2.6% figure was they're now going to include intelligence spending in this sort of defence and security budget. But I would be very surprised if some years down the line, once people's memories have moved on a bit, shall we say, that they start talking about 2.6% on defence and maybe don't caveat it. So we've got to be very careful for that, and we'll hold the government to account.
Are you ashamed of your record now you look around at the dangerous world that we're living in? I mean, I'm just taking a look at the current state of the armed forces. Since 2010, the British Army has gone from 107,000 personnel down to just shy of 73,000. That's the smallest the British Army has been since the Napoleonic Wars. Then if you look at the Royal Navy, down 7%, and the Royal Air Force, down 12.6%. I mean, they've been hollowed out. They were hollowed out under the Tories.
The phrase hollowed out comes from Ben Wallace when he was Defence Secretary. And just to reiterate, he used that to refer to consecutive governments of all colours, because as you know, defence spending has fallen by an enormous amount since the Cold War, and actually right since the Second War. It's been continuously falling. We were spending, I think it was 5% of GDP in 1985 when Gorbachev became president. You then had the end of the Cold War in 1989. It went to 4% in the early 90s, 3% in 1996 when we were in government, and you're right, 2.5% in 2010. And then we had an enormous economic crash. Labour were planning to cut that budget by 25%, something they never point out whenever they go back to 2.5%. So it was very difficult, and we did have to continue what had been going on for years, which is a reduction in spending and therefore the size of the armed forces. Having said that, you ask, am I ashamed? No, I'm not ashamed. I'm very proud. The most important thing that's happened in defence in our country for many, many years was the way we stood by Ukraine when they were invaded by Russia. That was the first land invasion by a peer military of a free nation in Europe since the Second World War. It was a fundamental threat to our continent and to this country, and we alone stood by them. We took an extraordinarily gutsy decision to provide them weapons before Russian troops even invaded and mobilised towards Kiev. And that decision had huge ramifications. But hold on, let me finish. Just because you said, am I ashamed? And that's a pretty loaded word to use. If we hadn't done that and Ukraine had fallen early, we'd have been in a situation like 1939, very serious. So you can judge us on what we actually delivered.
You had 14 years to rectify this, and when you're talking about the support of Ukraine, Britain has supported Ukraine, but in terms of numbers, after Putin invaded Ukraine, your government cut a further 4,000 troops from the British Army. So now we're living in this dangerous world where we've got the threat of China and the like. We have a much reduced British military, do we not? A much reduced British armed forces.
So 2 points on that. The first one, on the troop numbers and so on. I mean, so like the US recently was 20,000 short of its recruitment target. The German Bundeswehr is about 10,000 short. There has been a global issue of people leaving armed forces, a lack of retention. In some respects in this country, actually that's been because if, for example, and these are really important people in the armed forces, if you're a skilled engineer, and that's a particular issue on ships and for aircraft availability, they've been offered much more lucrative options in the civil sector. So we have had a challenge with recruitment and retention. That's one of the reasons why, something I'm very proud of, when I was a minister, we bought back the defence estate, which had been sold off, so that we could rebuild our estate, because accommodation is a factor in keeping people in our armed forces. But the other point I would say is, having given those weapons to Ukraine, and it was the right thing to do, the single most urgent and immediate challenge we face is not because of 14 years, it's because of the steps we took to support Ukraine, which is we do have big gaps in our inventory. So, for example, we gave them the core of our artillery, the AS-90. We urgently need to replace that. I procured its replacement, which is something called the RCH. I think with this money, let's focus on how we get our kit into service quicker, because hopefully this extra money will enable the Army to make some key choices on accelerating procurement. That's where the focus needs to be now. We gave our Storm Shadow missiles. They, as far as we can see, have been incredibly effective. We need those for our own armed forces, but they don't arrive in 5 minutes if you press the button. They will arrive in a few years, so we need to accelerate that procurement process. That is the most critical job we need to do now, and that's what this money will help with.
OK, James Cartledge, good to see you this morning. Thank you for your time.
They can all argue what they want. They were a disgrace during their tenure in government in looking after the armed forces. And this next crowd are a disgrace as well. So would you join the Army? Would you join the Air Force? Would you join the Royal Navy? And if so, what would you be getting out of it? When they want you, they want you. When they don't, you're surplus to requirements. Got to take a break, and we're back with the newspapers after this.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and there's some fairly wet weather affecting some parts of more southern Europe. We have a band of rain sweeping in, affecting Madeira, also Portugal and western parts of Spain. Some stronger winds here as well. A little bit drier across more central parts, some decent sunshine on offer here, but still more unsettled weather affecting eastern parts of the Med towards Greece, towards Cyprus. There's some heavy rain around, but things are looking drier, not necessarily sunny, into the weekend. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
I know. So, Chef Theo Michaels joins us in the studio to talk about this. We know we've got a problem with food waste in this country, Theo, but this idea that there's a younger generation who are just reading the back of a packet and going, well, that must have gone off then, throwing it in the bin. Why do they do that when maybe we wouldn't?
Do you know what? I think we live in an increasingly sanitised, bubble-wrapped world, right, where we've become detached from our food, we've become detached from using a bit of common sense. And so I think there's a generation that are doing exactly this. They're looking at a best before date to start with, which actually is meaningless. Best before date is me turning around to you two going, the fish should be at its prime on Tuesday, right? Yeah. But that's not the use by date. The use by date could be a week later. You know, we say the sniff test. That's what we should be doing. So I've had it before. I had a great experience once. I walked into a supermarket and I saw an Italian guy I know, and he was jumping around with so much excitement as he was collecting handfuls of Parmesan cheese that they said, oh, it was going out of date. And he was laughing, so he was going, we age this stuff for years. Yes. It doesn't go out of date. Yeah. So he was buying it by the truckload. And I think the key thing is there is this sort of sniff test that people talk about, but it's absolutely right. It's ingrained in us. It's instinctive that if we smell something that's off, it's like giving someone a dose of salts.
I'm also wondering, with these dates on these packaging, did it actually do a favour to the supermarkets because it meant that you're throwing them away and buying less?
100%.
Buying more.
The use by dates only came out in the 70s, right? And that was done by one particular supermarket. And for me, I can't help be cynical about it, Bev. Who
was it?
It was Marks and Spencer's.
Was it?
Marks and Spencer's in the 70s. They all followed suit.
And yet...
They all followed suit.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Claire and Quentin have got the newspapers and the stories that are affecting them this morning. And this is you, or is this AI giving me this story, Claire, first of all?
Well, exactly. Two big stories in the Times this morning about AI. The government's AI copyright changes will reward theft, says a lot of our creative in creative industries. And also universities have been urged to test whether assessments are chat GPT proof. Well, there's one way to find out. Bring them into exam halls and make them write their exams. Not on a laptop and not with the facility nor the ability to use chat GPT in a search engine and put in the subject. Quentin, did you use that yesterday for your column in the Mail?
But then what about theses and things like that? Stuff that's already pre-prepared or stuff that's already written?
Well, exactly. But
how do you regard that?
Well, you have to regard it. And what they're saying is you have to have good testing ability, good thresholds. Yeah. I don't know how to do it.
It's not there yet.
It's not there yet.
But AI isn't there yet either. I wrote an article about ChatGPT the other day, and it said to me, I got it talking to me about poetry, and it said, "Who's your favourite poet?" And I said, "My favourite poet is Dr. Crippen, the Edwardian mass murderer," and it believed me. The thing about AI is totally credulous. It's a sucker. It has no critical faculty.
It's got no critical thinking.
No.
So therefore you have to wonder what the output would be from these children who are at university, and the theses. Your dissertations are supposed to be an original piece.
Yes.
It's supposed to move things on. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
Well, it won't be capable of that, will it?
We're incredulous.
We're coming up against a big problem, without doubt. Big problems on the runway, Quentin. We've got, this was in Chicago's Midway Airport. Talk us through the footage.
Well, there's some pretty frightening footage of a jetliner, a passenger jet, coming in to land at an airport in Chicago. And you'll hear it coming down, and then suddenly it sees a private jet is just coming on to the runway, and the pilot of the passenger jet very successfully manages to avoid it. But then it does seem to me a bit of a Russian roulette of air travel at the moment, and you might be better off taking the Greyhound bus in the United States.
What gets me, the jet that's crossing the runway, he's not blind. He can see the airplane coming down. He can put his brakes on.
Well, I guess the answer to that is if you're told to do something by air traffic control, you do it, and you don't always look up to the right, I suppose, and it's not always easy to see things in a pale sky with a pale jet.
But we saw that in Washington not long after New Year, where the pilot clearly didn't look up and see the helicopter, which caused that crash too.
There is an awful lot of air incidents, particularly in the past year or so.
They're definitely on the increase. And that's why I think the next runway, the third runway at Heathrow, really has to be built. To avoid any of this.
Claire, middle classes are ruining parenting, says The Times. Why? How?
Because this is an op-ed, an interview with Catherine Burbisling, dubbed the most feared and the best head teacher in this country. And I think she's really got a point. It's all very well if you're sitting there with your nannies and your two-parent families and you've got the ability to perhaps reason with a child. But meanwhile, back in the real world, that does not help. You cannot give children agency for how they feel, what they want to eat, what they want to dress. You have to have some authority and discipline in families and in homes. And I actually firmly believe if we had more of that, then we wouldn't have the desperation and the absolute lawlessness in cities in this country up and down the world.
So decades of left-wing thinking here.
Absolute erosion of parental rights, of parental duty, the abdication thereof of those duties, and the ability for the state to infantilise parents and say, don't you worry, we'll take care of them. And no, you can't do that under the guise of child abuse.
Well, it's always the idea that you should allow children to express themselves. If you allow children to express themselves...
Through play.
They misbehave. But it's tough... No, let's be said, tough parenting is quite difficult. I was hopeless at imposing discipline on my daughters. I was much better with my son. So, no, just fathers are not very good with daughters.
Well, hold the front page. It'll come as no surprise. I was awful to all of them, and they've grown up fantastically well.
There's no gentle parenting in your house.
Absolutely no gentle parenting at all. And there still to this day isn't, because I'll tell you why. I'm not their friend. I'm their mother.
But Catherine Burbisling, what a woman.
She is
terrific.
Tremendous.
And the left have tried to finish her off several times.
And yet her school is still very successful in a very run-down part of North London and Wembley, and she still manages to give those kids a voice, give them agency through discipline, through learning up and through education.
And the best arm wrestling bout in politics is her against the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson. Scary Bridget.
Yes.
And those two are not made for each other. It's terrific.
No, they're not.
Terrific.
But as for the parenting books, guys, is the idea is these are not being written by everyday people, by working class people?
It's not even a class issue. It's a case of, you know, we're not giving the children discipline. You can't reason with a child. You really can't. Stop the tantrums.
And you can't expect a child to reason with you. They're a child.
But you would, from these books, it's just like mollycoddle your children. They are. They're absolute terrorists.
Guys, appreciate it. See you again in 45 minutes' time. Thank you very much indeed. We'll be back right after the break.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A833 is closed each way between Kiltalilty and the A862 at Balcragan after an accident. In Greater Manchester, the A34 is closed northbound along the Kingsway in Cheadle from Cheadle Royal to the Gatley traffic lights after an accident causing queues. On the M25 in Essex, the inside lanes closed clockwise while lorries broken down just before junction 27 for the M11, causing delays. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking half an hour and queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. Buses replaced trains between Crowborough and Uckfield because of a signalling problem. In East Sussex, the A259 remains closed along Grand Junction Road in Brighton because of an unsafe building. And in Devon, the A38 is partly blocked westbound by an accident at the Forder Valley interchange in Plymouth, causing queues. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16 and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The Prime Minister slashes foreign aid in order to boost defence spending.
Bowing to pressure from President Trump ahead of tomorrow's meeting, the UK is now encouraging Europe to step up too.
A new approach on defence, a revival of our industrial base, a deepening of our alliances.
Do you believe him? The move has drawn criticism, with charities warning it could damage Britain's influence abroad.
Breaking news on small boat crossings. 2,000 people this year alone. Mark White has the latest.
Well, despite horrific weather conditions in the Channel since the beginning of the year, it's remarkable that more than 2,000 migrants have crossed, and we're told thousands more are massing on the shores of northern France.
The Waleses in Wales. Prince William and Princess Catherine will visit Pontypridd today ahead of St David's Day, which is on Saturday.
And it's our favourite, fish and chips. We're going to be meeting one young friar who's up for the challenge of making sure the industry stays alive.
It's us young friars that will keep the fish and chip industry alive, so it's us that has to keep it, so we have to maintain that and bring in new ideas.
To meet Gwen, the Dalmatian Vizsla Cross, whose happy tail syndrome has seen them dropped from Crufts dog competition.
Poor Gwen. In the sport, in football, Chelsea get over their little blip Moving to the top four after scoring 4, but then again it was Southampton. Sorry, Saints fans. In cricket, England played their controversial Champions Trophy against Afghanistan today. And boxing, ahead of their fight in April, Chris Eubank Jr. smacked Conor Benn with an egg yesterday, which, if we were wondering, is nothing to do with the Queensberry rules whatsoever.
We have some heavy rain today, also a bit of hill snow and some hail and thunder possible too. To find out more, stay tuned as I'll have the details coming up.
Hello there, very good morning to you wherever you're watching or listening. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast.
So, boxing and eggs, and it was a real egg, and it hit its target.
Do you know why it was an egg? Do you know why he smacked him with an egg?
No.
The reason for it, oh yeah, there's method behind this madness, is because Conor Benn, who was accused of taking illegal substances before his fight before, said that they found clostebol, which is an illegal, I don't know, what is it, some drug that will help heart, etc. Found it in an egg because he'd eaten too many eggs. And they found out that it was from an egg that was from abroad, and it's when they give them to hens, it gets very, very confusing, as you can see. What a lovely job I'm doing. But anyway, that was the reason for the egg.
So
too many eggs.
Ever been hit by an egg?
You know what? I don't think I have. Actually, yes, I have been hit by an egg. End of school.
Yeah.
Flour and eggs.
Flour and eggs.
Yeah, I've still got it all over my school uniform. Yeah.
No. I've been Halloween. I've been present when houses have been egged. I have not egged a house.
Were you part of the gang that did the eggs?
No, but I have been.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I've never thrown an egg.
Never thrown an egg in anger?
I have witnessed an egg throwing.
Have you had an egg thrown?
No.
My brothers would have thrown eggs at me.
Really?
At one stage.
Hard-boiled is fine.
Yeah, but
it's when they're messy. You can't wash it out. It's all sticky, horrible.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
OK, Paul, speak to you in 20 minutes' time. Prime Minister's announced plans to cut foreign aid by $6 billion. That's part of his plans to increase defence spending to 2.5%. That's up 0.02%, isn't it? It's up hardly anything. But anyway, he's made such a big deal of it, and he looks distraught having to announce it.
We will keep our manifesto commitment to spend 2.5% of our GDP on defence. But in light of the grave threats that we face, we will bring forward that target so we meet it in 2027. We will also set out a clear ambition for defence spending to rise to 3% of GDP in the next Parliament. We will fund the initial increase in defence spending by cutting our spending on overseas development, moving from 0.5% of GNI to 0.3%.
Well, let's get the thoughts of our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who joins us live from Westminster now. Good to see you this morning, Catherine. So is this Sir Keir Starmer pleasing Trump or protecting Britain?
I think both, really. I think it was inevitable that defence spending was going to have to go up. I was in Warsaw with the previous Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, last April, where that government announced it would rise to 2.5% by 2030. Labour came in and wouldn't set out a timeline, had a lot of criticism. But events have moved very fast, haven't they, since Donald Trump came to the White House just a month ago. And I was struck by the PM saying in that speech yesterday, here we are in a world where everything has changed in two ways. Changed, of course, 3 years ago with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a war in Europe, something many people thought we would never see again, but then changed very dramatically too when Donald Trump became president back in January. And it's been a huge wake-up call that Europe has received. I was in Munich a couple of weeks ago when the Americans made it very, very clear that European security is not a priority for them, that Europe basically needs to step up now for its own defence. That message has been received. So we've seen this announcement of this bringing forward the increase to 2027, done largely through slashing the foreign aid budget, something which has gone down very, very badly with a lot of Labour MPs who didn't come into power to be doing this sort of thing. But I think the Prime Minister has realised that, first of all, easier to cut the foreign aid budget than just about anything else, given the uproar over the tax rises, the budget, the farmers' tax, and so on and so forth, that the government has already had back in October. Easier to cut foreign aid, frankly, than anything else. But the PM is going today to fly to Washington for that all-important meeting with Donald Trump tomorrow. Emmanuel Macron from France was there on Monday. Zelensky, we think, will be there on Friday. It's a really, really crucial meeting. Now, it's been welcomed already by America. The US Defense Secretary said that it was a strong step from an enduring partner. But Donald Trump is calling for 5%, says Europe can afford it. So let us see how it goes down with Donald Trump tomorrow.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate that. And the question is, where are our budgets going? Well, 2,000 migrants so far this year. Could be where part of it is. Let's go to Mark White and he'll tell us about those really quite high figures, Mark, bearing in mind weather conditions and all sorts of things, and it's winter time.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. Of course, it's winter and we get storms, but this has been particularly bad since the beginning of the year, Eamonn. We've got some images we can show you of the very latest arrivals. The Border Force vessel Typhoon that came into Dover Harbour last night with 138 migrants on board. And what they're doing, the people smugglers, because the weather is so bad out in the Channel, even on the days when normally they wouldn't push boats out into the Channel because of the dangers, they're taking those risks and they're pushing them out. We got word from French authorities yesterday that they were involved in several rescues of boats that got into difficulties. Indeed, one overcrowded boat was intercepted a few miles off the coast of Dunkirk. And the authorities managed to persuade 38 people on that boat to come on board. The boat had suffered engine failure in heavy swells, but 24 of those migrants refused to come off the boat, and they managed to restart their engine and continued on that journey to the UK and eventually made it to UK waters and were picked up, adding to the total who crossed yesterday. I should say, incidentally, that the government is currently in the process of changing the law to make it a criminal offence for those refusing to accept the offer of rescue, to deal specifically with those that do not come on board the rescue boats when they intercept them, and put others in danger by staying on that boat. But it is no doubt clearly sobering news again for the Labour government, who's vowed to smash the gangs. But what we're seeing so far this year is we are on track to at least equal last year's total, probably to overtake that as the better weather continues.
Okay, Mark White, our Home Security Editor there. Thank you very much indeed.
A quick look at what's happening weather-wise on this Wednesday morning. We say good morning to Alex Burkle.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some heavy rain pushing its way across many parts through today, and even once that clears, there are going to be some heavy, perhaps even thundery showers following in behind. But yes, a fairly wet start for some of us. The heaviest, most persistent rain clearing eastwards through the day, taking a bit of a while to clear East Anglia and the southeast towards London and Kent. Like I said, behind it, some fairly frequent showers, and worth bearing in mind there will be some hill snow around over higher ground over parts of northern England into Scotland, and some rumbles of thunder mixed in too. But otherwise some bright sunny spells, though temperatures down a little bit, only near normal for the time of year, just about scraping into double digits. Now as we head through into this evening, still a fair few showers around, and conditions. Some of these could still be a little bit on the heavy side. There could still be a bit more thunder, maybe even a bit of hail as well, which could cause some problems on the roads. Many places at risk of seeing a few showers, perhaps some more persistent rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, and a band of rain then sweeping round, also affecting the far northwest of Scotland. But actually, across the northern half of Scotland, through much of today and into this evening, it's going to stay largely dry with some bright or clear weather as well. Overnight, we are going to see that rain across northwestern Scotland and across Northern Ireland, edging a little bit further southeastwards, and also a bit more cloud across some central parts of England and Wales, some outbreaks of rain here as well. But away from this zone of cloudier weather, there will be some clear skies, and in the north across Scotland, where we get the clear skies, some frost is quite likely, even some icy patches perhaps first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, still a bit of a breeze towards eastern parts, lighter winds elsewhere with high pressure building, and that high pressure is also going to help clear away some of those showers. So a few showers around, particularly towards the west and the far east, but actually as we go through the day and more so by Friday, it's looking largely dry. Some decent bright sunny spells, but temperatures only near normal for the time of year. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Time now for the Great British Giveaway. If you want to be one of 2 new winners, each with a new iPhone, shopping vouchers and £10,000 in tax-free cash, here are all of the details that you need.
And it is great, and it's for 2 people.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Still to come, do stay with us. The dog that's been banned from Crufts because its tail is too waggy. We'll tell you more next.
It's no shaggy dog story.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, a new poll commissioned by Channel 4 shows that more than half of Gen Z believe that Britain should be ruled by a dictator. Seriously, they actually said that. Well, 1 in 3 would want an army. What's the army in charge? 1 in 3 want martial law.
There's something on the idea of some form of strong leadership. They have looked at British politics. They have looked at the politics in which they grow up in, and they see failures at the democratic level. They see a weak, a soft, a centre that doesn't do anything, makes promises and fails to deliver them. They see nothing actually happening. And they also see a future where they have no democratic engagement, because they're never going to have a house. They're never going to have a family. Why would they? Why would they be able to? So the idea of having somebody strong to come through and blow away the cobwebs of our current system, I can see that being attractive. When I grew up, I was talking to not that old men and women who had been through the war, who knew what dictatorship was. Up until the 70s, we were in the Cold War. People knew what dictatorship was. They knew people being locked up, being sent to Siberia. They knew what this meant. And I don't think anybody under the age of 34 actually has a clue. It's all the other side of the world. It's in North Korea, it's in China. It's not here, and it's not part of their lived experience. And that's a big change.
And I wonder, actually, Nigel, if a lot of these people think, I don't know, like Donald Trump's a dictator. He got elected with a huge mandate. Do they understand what dictators is? Or, actually, are young people just so listless They're so feeble-minded, they need to be told what to do and how to live.
I certainly think that Gwen's right about there's a disillusionment with democracy and the results of it. The idea that a dictatorship is the answer to it, or having the military rule over us, is obvious nonsense.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Here's Paul, just to continue with what he was talking about on sport.
Well, firstly, David Coleman. We were talking about the David Coleman
legendary
auction,
sports anchor,
which we're very interested in. If there was going to an auction, this would be the one. I think it's probably Ellie. It's like going to an auction and you having the handwritten lyrics by Taylor Swift.
Oh.
This is probably the link as far as we would be. David Coleman. Have we got that? I think he's typewriter. You can bid for. You can actually see the
And you've got your eyes
David
on that
there.
one, haven't you?
I have. I like
this.
the
This is an
typewriter.
Olivetti.
It's an Olivetti. And also there's scripts that he's done in the Olympics. There are scripts from the World Cup as well. So they're all available and they're all going to be auctioned over the next couple of days. But you think this is a man's life work's like about 65 quid you can get.
And yeah, you were saying it's quite reasonable.
Yeah, amazing. So anyway, I'm not going to say where it is or anything else because I want to bid and then bring him in and then give them to Eamonn. Conor Benn, let's talk about the boxing, shall we? Yeah. So Conor Benn and Chris
section on the programme now.
It is. It's Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Their fight is not until April, but they're drumming up business.
Yeah.
Doing the press
selling
conferences.
tickets. There are people who book venues and they can't sell tickets.
Can you imagine such a thing? Can you imagine such a thing? But anyway, you built up for their last. The fight was supposed to happen in 2022, and then we had Conor Benn, who was done for taking illegal performance-enhancing substances, allegedly, but then he got cleared eventually, thank goodness. But anyway, it was true. He blamed it on eggs. He blamed it on the fact they had too many eggs and they were contaminated eggs.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the press conference then from yesterday. There we are. That's Conor Benn there on the right, Chris Eubank Jr., little argy-bargy. Everybody's standing there waiting for something to happen. And there you can see Eddie Hearn on the right-hand side as well. And as they are butting heads, we have Chris Eubank Jr. has an egg in his hand, slams it against the side of his face. They all start shouting. This all goes back to Muhammad Ali. He started all this stuff.
Do you think this was set up? Do you think they knew that?
You know what? I mean, if you was, would you have looked in his hand and said, "He's got an egg in his hand. When's he going to get? What's he going to do with that?"
That looks staged to me.
It looked sore to me.
It looks sore. It was quite forceful.
He did give him a slap, didn't he? But also. Is he, I could say he's ended up with egg on his face and all that sort of stuff because he's literally...
I was waiting for that, yeah.
Can you say, is there drippy egg? I don't know.
I'd say so.
I mean, there's all the soldiers, well, just drippy egg and soldiers, isn't it? So around the outside there. So I don't know whether it was dripping down his head or whether it was hard-boiled and they just did it to stage the whole thing just to try and make a big fuss of nothing. What do you think? Nonsense?
Well, as Ellie says, they're always there. They're always staged, though that looked quite sore. Didn't look as though that he was expecting that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Don't really get me. People butting their head, runting me with their head like that.
Yeah.
I think I would just break and punch him.
Would you?
So, yeah.
So what, when it's like... I remember there was a kid at school once and I'll never forget that. There was a bit of that going on. Do you remember? And he went up to him and he said, "Go on then. Hit me right there. Go on, hit me like..." And the bloke went like that. And he went,
that's what you get for
happy
asking.
days of school. Hit me right there. Do you want to do some birthdays?
Yeah, the birthdays.
Let's do some sporting birthdays. We haven't done birthdays for a while. First one, OK, we've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Manchester United.
Ole.
There we are. Great player. A manager. He did all right for a time, didn't he?
Turkey. Yeah.
So Ole, how old do you think?
Club legend.
Absolutely. Definitely club legend. 1999 as well, and the Champions League Cup final. came on as a substitute. Oh, I'm almost saying. How old do you think he is? Where did that come from? I almost said. You haven't even guessed. How old do you think he is?
56.
56 for Ollie.
No, he's not that old. He's not that old. He will be 1999 in his prime. 52.
So, as a Manchester United man, it would be embarrassing if you got this wrong.
Well, maybe, but I don't think I have. He'll be 51 or 52 or 52. I'll say
52 is the right answer. Very good.
Is that right?
Well done.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's go another one. Let's go with this. Is Emmanuel Adebayor. Now, Emmanuel Adebayor is going to be tricky. He played at Man City and Arsenal and Spurs and played for Togo. I said, you know what? He used to drive up to Tottenham. He had a big van. It was like a big. it was like a big lorry. And they go, that's his car. Anyway, I saw it open up, and it was like Elvis's jungle room.
Yeah,
it was.
yeah,
There was this great big chair and TV in the back of this van.
I'm sure.
How cool
I'm
is
sure
that?
It wasn't a van. I'm sure it was a V-class Merc or something.
It wasn't. It was like a big lorry. It was like a big pickup truck. And you open the doors and there's this lounge.
Let's see, 42.
42 is a good guess.
45.
41.
Oh.
Very good. Let's go with another one. This is Pedro Mendes. Now, does Pedro Mendes mean anything to you, Eamonn?
He plays for Spurs.
Well, back in 2005, Spurs played Manchester United at Old Trafford, and the ball in the last minute, we never win there, was hit from 50 yards.
Oh, I know. And in goal was who was in goal?
It was
the Irish keeper.
Yes, it was.
Come on, forget.
Roy Carroll.
Roy Carroll. It was Roy Carroll.
Roy Carroll.
Yes.
The ball.
Roy Carroll made a magnificent save, stopped it crossing the line.
Let's have a look. There we are. That's how much he stopped the ball.
It was a magnificent save.
Over the line.
Roy Carroll made, yes.
Yeah, look at that.
Legendary.
If only goal line technology back in 2005. But obviously, you can see it didn't go in.
We had the ref and two linesmen who deemed that it didn't go in.
Absolutely. And about 50,000 Manchester United fans as well, I remember. Anyway, Pedro Mendes, how old is he today?
Ooh.
The one that scored the goal, or didn't score the goals.
I'd say he'd be similar to Solskjaer. I'd say he's about 50, 53.
Ooh.
No?
I mean, over-egged that a bit. Yeah.
Should it?
49.
46 is the
Oh.
answer for Pedro Mendes. Finally, one more. Let's have a showbiz birthday, shall we? Oh, look at him. What a guy. Michael Bolton. Michael Bolton. We can work it out. How can we be lovers? Obviously, you thought that was the song for a second, didn't you?
I thought it was a question.
How can I...
He's
How old is Bolton today?
65.
65 for Michael Bolton, or Michael Bolton Wanderers, as we'll call him too. This is the sports section.
70.
72 is the answer. Happy birthday, Michael Bolton.
Thank you very much.
There we are.
And to everybody else whose birthday it is today.
Yes, happy birthday.
Very happy birthday.
And happy birthday to everybody whose birthday is tomorrow.
My baby's birthday today. So it is as well.
Yeah, happy birthday.
It's my baby's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Tim, as well.
He's 22 today.
Oh, a fine
Happy birthday to him.
There we go. Right, OK. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Paul. Now we're going to introduce you to Gwen. Gwen has been banned from Crufts, and we'll tell you why. Gwen's very handsome, very big. That's a big tongue, Gwen. Anyway, back with that after this.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A833 is closed each way between Kiltalilty and the A862 at Balcragan after an accident. In Greater Manchester, the A34 is closed northbound along the Kingsway at Cheadle after an accident with long delays towards there. On the M25 in Essex, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed anti-clockwise after an accident between junctions 28 and 27 from the A12 to the M11 causing queues. In Kent, the A2 is blocked each way by an accident between Norton and Faversham. In East Sussex, the A275 is closed each way between Cooksbridge and South Chailey after an accident. And there are a couple of problems in Devon on the M5. There's a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down between junctions 29 and 28 from the Exeter and Holliton turn to Cullumpton causing delays. And the A38 is partly blocked westbound by an accident at the Forder Valley interchange in Plymouth causing queues.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
OK, via satellite, we're going to bring you Gwen. Let's see Gwen. First of all, let me tell you about Gwen. Gwen is 3 years of age.
Oh,
that's Gwen's owner, that's Sophie. And Gwen's on her knee there. And Gwen is a Dalmatian Vizsla Cross. And she was set to take part in Crufts.
Yes, but happy tail syndrome got in the way. Now, you may be wondering what that is. It's when a dog is hitting its tail too many times against walls and objects, and it injures their tail and injures themselves.
So what did they do? Sophie cut it off. She didn't cut it off. A vet cut it off. It was the vet's recommendation. Tip of the tail, amputated. OK, but those aren't the Crufts rules, Sophie, are they? What did Crufts say about this?
So I haven't actually spoken to Crufts at the moment because it's a DEFRA legislation that is the ruling. So I've spoken to DEFRA. They sent me quite an informal email back just stating the legislation that dogs, even with a medical amputation, fall under the same umbrella as dogs.
How serious was it with Gwen? Tell us this tail wagging, banging business. She had a wound, hadn't she?
Yeah, so she did have a couple of breaks first. Then she had a wound at the end of her tail, which just wouldn't heal. It got to the point where she wouldn't have to actually hit her tail on anything. She'd just wag it and it would just burst open. So it was really distressing for her at the time because there was just blood everywhere all the time, really.
Oh, she is such a beautiful dog. And, I mean, you were just acting in her best interests, weren't you, by docking her tails under medical advice from the vet?
Yes, exactly. So we spoke to the vet. We spent a long time going back and forth the vet to see. We tried bandaging the tail. We bought protection to wrap around the tail, and nothing. It was futile. Nothing would heal the tail. Unfortunately, it was just a chronic wound that it did have an infection, which you had to have antibiotics for. And then the bottom line was the only thing they could do for her welfare and quality of life was to just take the tail.
Oh. Can we see her bottom line this morning here on the programme? I mean, can you show us the tail, what state it's in? Is she there? Can you call her up and we'll have a look and just see...
She's gone camera shy
what
now.
It looks like. No, she's not. She's gonna... There's so many
there she is. She's
so many
coming
people would let us see their bottoms at this time of the morning. So, right... Sophie, let's see. Right, so the tail, or what's left, is it just a stub or what's left?
Wait. So at the moment, that's. Can you see there? No.
Oh, wait, we're not on the dog. Let's go down.
We're not, no. We can only take your word that you've cut it off. For all we know, could be like a wolf down there.
Yeah, it could be. You just have to take my word for that, I think, Eamonn.
So what are you looking for? What's going to be the best outcome for you and Gwen?
So we actually started a petition because the aim that we would like is that the Kennel Club would take each dog individually and assess their case individually. So if there was a dog that had a medical amputation due to disease or injury, then they could take that into consideration individually, assess the case. If there was vet documentation then to prove that the tail, it was a necessity to preserve the dog's quality of life and welfare, then I don't see that there should be a reason that that dog isn't able to compete.
Yeah, and if you can get that exemption, if you can get those rules changed, that if it's medically docked by a vet, then you could enter Crufts. Would you like to see Gwen at Crufts? I think she'd do very well.
I'd love to see Gwen at Crufts.
Lovely. And thank you very much indeed for seeing you today, for seeing Gwen, and for seeing the lovely sunshine in Merthyr Tydfil this morning. Looks a lovely day there.
Oh, I don't know. I think it might be a little bit deceiving there. It is raining here.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed. We'll say adios to you. Thank you very much. Bye, Gwen.
Bye, Gwen.
Yeah,
Thanks very much. Good to see you.
Well, we didn't see her bum, though.
Well, no.
Didn't see her tail.
The dog, I should say. Gwen, the dog.
We've got Quentin
Letts and Claire Muldoon.
Claire Muldoon. They've got the newspapers very shortly. We've got John Healy, the Defence Secretary. All to come after your weather update, where the sun is in Europe.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and there's some fairly wet weather affecting some parts of more southern Europe. We have a band of rain sweeping in, affecting Madeira, also Portugal and western parts of Spain. Some stronger winds here as well. A little bit drier across more central parts, some decent sunshine on offer here, but still more unsettled weather affecting eastern parts of the Med towards Greece, towards Cyprus. There's some heavy rain around, but things are looking drier, not necessarily sunny, into the weekend. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
I watched the video yesterday with Meghan Markle announcing this relaunch. What did you make of the video?
It's constantly this rebranding thing that's going on, which is quite interesting. We've had different kind of, way back to Sussex Royal at the very beginning. Here we've now got this new lifestyle series that's coming out. Obviously, she's got this new brand that's going to go alongside it. It's very difficult because royals, as we've said many, many times before, this is not something royals typically kind of do. And obviously these are no longer, if you like, working members of the royal family, but still, Prince Harry, as I keep saying, is a senior member of the royal family. So it's quite a kind of uncharted territory that they're going into. And as I said, this is a bit of a disaster because everything they seem to kind of do when it comes to branding, it just doesn't seem to work.
They seem to really be struggling to find their purpose in the US. Do you think that's fair? I mean, Prince Harry, of course, has got the Invictus Games, which is just the most wonderful thing that he has set up. But it appears that they're not obviously part of the royal family anymore in terms of working royals. They're not senior working royals, but not able to make it in the business world yet either.
You're right, Ellie. I think the Invictus Games is definitely the kind of saving grace. That's the thing that everybody kind of admires and respects them for. But then it's when they keep going back into this kind of celebrity branded lifestyle. I don't think anyone's really that hugely interesting. As you said, in the States, you kind of hear people are for them, people are against them. I think most people would rather that they weren't kind of doing this. I think we've said this so many times before that, as members of the royal family, they should continue down that line and going into this kind of business world. It just, I think I'm right in saying historically with royals and kind of business, it doesn't really work.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We have got Quentin Letts and we've got Claire Muldoon, and they have got the newspapers for you this morning.
Quentin, let's start with painters Lord Nelson, shall we? They have been taken down under plans to make Parliament's artworks more diverse.
That's
the
right.
Telegraph this morning.
And just wait till you see what's going up instead of the death scene of Nelson at Trafalgar. Instead, there's going to be a photograph of oh my goodness, it's Yvette Cooper, and this is at the.
Are you
House
being
of Commons.
serious?
Yes.
There it is on page 10
Can we
of the
hold it
Telegraph.
up? It is.
It must be true.
Just so
I
you
can
see
hold
this.
it up. I don't know if you'll
Hold
see
it up
that.
for us, Quentin.
There you are. It is quite a fetching photograph of Yvette. And there's beautiful sort of floral decorations behind her. And I actually would argue, although we may be horrified initially by the thought of Nelson being taken down and replaced by Yvette, if you just have a whole Parliament full of 19th century battle scenes.
No, I totally agree with you.
I find that a bit overwhelming.
But what I would say is, you talk
stifling.
about over the top, but Yvette Cooper, I like Yvette Cooper personally. I think she's a very capable politician, but she's not a great politician.
No, and it's better to
why
beware.
should she be there?
I would always beware putting up images of living or active politicians. I think it's better to wait until. But this is.
But the reasoning behind it is.
The reasoning behind this is all part of a review of the artworks at Parliament, which was inspired by the Black Lives Matter business in 2020, and it's trying to get away from images connected with slavery. So, no, my heckles start going up at this point. But there it is. It's all happening. If you want to be inspired by the artworks at Parliament, go and have a look at Yvette.
Yeah, but who goes and sees these paintings anyway if you're not a member of Parliament?
Oh, well, you can visit.
For me, it's a bit of a moot point.
You can visit your Parliament, go in there, you can sit in select committee meetings, you have the right to attend Parliament.
But Claire, then we go to the Imperial War Museum, and you will no longer be able to view the largest collection of Victoria Crosses, which is the paramount award that you can receive in the British military.
It's the pinnacle of a reward for fighting for your country.
The Imperial War Museum has announced in London that it will close the display. Why?
Because they say there's not the market for it. Lord Ashcroft's wing, he donated £5 million to this part of the Imperial War Museum, and they've just shut the Gallery of Medals because they don't want anyone to come and see them. They say that the gallery opened in 2010, generously loaned his £70 million worth of collection of 230 VCs and George Cross medals, but now Lord Ashcroft's gallery is to permanently close, sparking fears of a shift away from honouring Britain's most decorative war heroes. I think it's just awful. We've now increased our defence spending. Why don't we have any pride left in this country?
They're obviously embarrassed by these.
Oh, it may not be just embarrassment. It may be that medals are boring things to look at. And if I go to the Imperial War Museum, I want to see guns. I want to see tanks.
But that's
I want to see hand
purely
grenades.
subjective,
I want to see
Quentin. That
medals.
is purely subjective.
No, but
and it's purely down to you.
It may be that the public's not interested in medals.
I actually believe that medals are part of history, part of the rich thread of defending the country, and I think that the young people, especially in this country, and us of a certain age, and indeed older people, have to be reminded of the sacrifice and what these actual medals actually mean.
Show me a Bren gun carrier every time. Much more interesting.
Okay.
Completely subjective.
Quentin, let's have a look at The Guardian, shall we? Wes Streeting Health Secretary is to cut thousands of jobs at NHS England. It's a feared power grab.
Little Wes, good for him. This is all linked to the departure, which was rather overwhelmed. It was rather ignored yesterday. The departure of the head of NHS England, a woman called Amanda Pritchard, who has quit unexpectedly. And it seems that she's been got rid of by Wes Streeting. But some of the numbers here are amazing, that there are 13,000 officials, pen pushers, basically, working for this administrative body. You know, the amount of bureaucracy in the health service is extraordinary. We want to have our NHS money surely spent on nurses and doctors and machines that make people get well, not rather than just 13,000 bureaucrats. Well, there are going to be fewer of them now because Wes Streeting is getting rid of some of them, I think quite rightly so. But the departure of Amanda Pritchard, the Guardian reports that the new head of the civil service, Sir Chris Wormold, told Streeting to do it nicely. This is the bureaucratic speak, and it's all to do with political easing out of people and looking after their careers rather than after public money.
OK, sorry, we're about to go to a video, but we won't go to it just yet. Claire, what do you make of that story?
Well, both sides, incidentally, are saying that neither was pushed or nor was anyone told that she should go. Amanda Pritchard is saying she left of her own accord. I think this streamlining of the NHS is setting itself up for more privatisation. That's exactly what it's heading. It really is heading that way.
You see, Claire, we were talking earlier about AI and uses of AI. There, as Quentin was outlining how the NHS works and the bureaucracy in it, surely there's a role for AI.
Well, there is, and it's been proven that when AI reads scans, it's as good as if a person had actually sat down and compared the scans in terms of detecting illness. That, I would say, yes. AI for anything else, no. You don't want to see a doctor, and the doctor is an AI. You still need people.
One aspect of this, though, is that the Guardian is reporting that this is being described as a power grab by the Secretary of State. Well, hang on. He's Secretary of State. He's accountable in Parliament.
He should have the power
rather than the bureaucrats.
He can grab all he wants. What about the bill rise yesterday, Claire, with Ofgem and the energy bills?
So, I mean, this is the Mirror, which is a Labour-leaning paper with very red paper, and they're even saying the power punch is just too much. Ofgem branded cruel. A 6.4% rise in energy bills will clobber 22 million customers. That's an average rise of £111 per annum, and the average bill is £1,849 will be next year for fuel. It's ridiculous. And we've got BP. Do you know BP announced yesterday that they were scrapping their drive to net zero?
Hooray! Hooray!
I agree. I completely agree. But if the big oil companies are starting to do it, why aren't we?
Well, it's going to follow. It has to follow. One of the things, though, about this story is that a lot of these the price rises built in by Ofcom to do with they're a result of forecasting, and we all know what happens when the forecasting classes get involved. They invariably get things wrong.
Quentin, Donald Trump has just released a video which we've just got hold of, and this is him talking about his plans for the Gaza Strip. We'll comment on it after you take a look at it.
So this must be Donald Trump's plans for the Riviera of the Middle East that we've heard before. Is the Gaza Strip? It's an AI plan for Gaza. You can see Trump's face on a balloon there. Looks like a luxury resort on the Gaza Strip. A Trump Tower, food, palm trees, golden statues of...
Do you know what? I find this a bit distasteful. I mean, people dead, buildings collapsed, country in absolute turmoil. And what's he doing? He's saying, what's next? He's saying, oh, it's going to be like Marbella.
Or Dubai.
Down there soon.
It does look like Dubai, yeah.
I just don't think it's the time for this, but there we go. What do you think, guys?
I think there's a tremendous amount of self-absorption in this, and the US president is, OK, he's got a vision, and he's right to the extent Gaza is going to have to be
American
rebuilt.
Companies. I mean, he's just planning to get the whole share of development in this, and there'll be a couple of Trump hotels after he's retired.
It is going to have to be rebuilt, but I think it would probably be better, more politic, if it were rebuilt by Arab money rather than by Donald Trump.
I think the timing of this is actually quite sad. This is a gravesite. The innocent lives in Palestine that have been lost through Israeli attacks has been horrific.
OK. We've got the Defence Secretary who's available. I think we can speak to him. He's in Wellington Barracks in Westminster. We say hello, good morning, John Healy.
Good morning.
Good morning, John. John, just one wee thing to begin with, and that is the figures. You know, Keir Starmer was giving figures out yesterday, and there is talk and there is contention, you know, particularly from the Conservatives on this, and as to how much money will be available. And this ranges from like 13.5 billion, which the Prime Minister would initially claim, and they're saying, well, we're only talking about 5 or 6 billion here going to the defence budget. Can you clarify that for us?
Yes, I can. The Prime Minister was saying yesterday in the Commons that in 2027, the amount of cash that we'll be spending on defence will be £13 billion more than we're spending today. That's just a simple cash fact. But whatever way you cut the numbers, this is the biggest increase in defence spending for this country since the end of the Cold War. It's the delivery of a Labour manifesto commitment that we made to the British public at the election, and we're doing this 3 years earlier than anyone thought we would do.
Doing it for Donald Trump?
No, we're doing it because we made the commitment. We've recognised for some time that the world is changing. We face a new era of threats, and we need to forge a new era for defence in Britain to keep us safer and make us stronger in our alliances, to be able to deter the adversaries that we face. It's certainly true with Donald Trump. He's issued the challenge to the UK and other European nations in the last 2 weeks, so he's reinforced, if you like, the imperative and the importance of doing so. And I'm pleased that when I spoke to the Defence Secretary yesterday to brief him on the announcement, he reacted and said, look, this is a strong step from an enduring partner, and it's a good basis for Keir Starmer to discuss with President Trump the way that Britain and other European allies will step up further for European security, on defence spending, on Ukraine, but also to reinforce our defence industry for the long term as well. All aims that the US share.
Can I ask you about how the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, is feeling about all of this? Because just a few weeks ago, he was still criticising Boris Johnson for his cuts to the foreign aid budget. When he was Prime Minister, he took it at the time from 0.7% of GDP to 0.5% of GDP. But then he's in The Guardian today, now that the cuts have gone down to 0.3%, saying that it's an idea that had to be done, and he's supportive of it. So does that not make him a hypocrite?
No, David Lammy was right to criticise the Conservatives. They were cutting overseas development aid to fill a black hole in the public finances. We're making those really difficult decisions to switch spending from overseas aid to defence because the world has changed, because we need more hard power at this time. Difficult decisions, as the Prime Minister said to the House of Commons. He's not happy to make them, but they're necessary because national security must come first.
He's always insisted, though, that it's a vital part of the UK's soft power. He's always lambasted its critics. Now, here he is in The Guardian saying that it's a strong decision from Sir Keir Starmer. It just doesn't seem as though he has his own mind on this.
Well, we're a party that in government has got an extraordinarily proud record, and I was part of the last Labour government that set new standards for the world in writing off the debt of the poorest countries, putting in place health and education programmes, and raising our aid funding to levels that set standards for other countries. But we are in a changed world. These are difficult decisions that we have faced and have had to make, as Keir Starmer explained yesterday, and we must do more now to boost our defence spending, to strengthen our armed forces, and to make defence the engine of economic growth in this country, and that's exactly what we'll set out to do now.
Where are the defence threats coming from? You know, you're in charge of the department there, and we're talking about increased spending and bigger budgets, and gosh, there's a lot of rebuilding to do. I'm sure anybody will admit that. So what does the future have in store? Where are the dangers, and what must we prepare for?
Well, the first focus is Ukraine. We have a full-scale war in Europe as a result of Putin's invasion. And if Putin prevails in Ukraine, he won't stop at Ukraine, which is why the first line of UK defence is in Ukraine and why we've made such a strong commitment with such strong UK unity behind that. I'm proud of that UK leadership and what we're doing, and this year spending more on military aid to support Ukraine than ever before. But we know that the Russian threats aren't confined to Ukraine. They're menacing our airspace, they're menacing our waters, they're menacing our cyberspace. They're even launching sabotage attacks and assassination attempts on British soil. And so the ability to be strong in our security, strong in our forces, with allies to deter Russia from going any further and to deter the other countries and states that would do us harm, is why this defence spending increase is needed. It recognises that the world has changed, and it recognises that we've got to do more to keep Britain secure and to keep Britain strong in the world as well.
Yes, and how will it be spent? Because wouldn't the £18 billion, well, anything from £9 billion to £18 billion that's been pledged to Mauritius for the Chagos Islands, surely that would go a long way in terms of defence spending?
Well, within 2 weeks of the last election, the Prime Minister and I launched a strategic defence review that's nearing completion. That will set out the priorities for how we invest for the future to make our forces better able to fight and deter in the future, how we do more to get the kit that our frontline personnel need to do their job, and also how we do this in a way which is better value for money for the taxpayer as well as for our troops. As far as the Chagos Islands go, look, there is no deal yet. And unless and until there is a deal, there won't be any financial commitment. And unless and until there is a deal, if there is a deal, then that will be captured in a treaty, put before Parliament, and it'll be the details of any finances and the long-term commitments that may be involved.
John, you've got so much to do. We can appreciate the weight on your shoulders. Could you just briefly, we're running out of time, we've only got a minute or so, could you briefly tell us, how do you make the armed forces more attractive to today's generation? Why would anybody outside serving their country, why would it be an attractive option as a career?
Do you know, in the last decade, 1 million young people applied to join our armed forces, but 3/4 gave up before they were even recruited or rejected, just because it's so badly run and takes so long. So my first task has been to overhaul the recruitment process, to give a direct route for those who have cyber skills and a desire to join our new cyber force without having to go through all the basic forces training, and do more also to try and retain those people who are part of our armed forces now. And I'm proud to be the Defence Secretary that's been able to give our armed forces the biggest pay rise last year for 20 years.
OK, thank you for that, John. Really out of time. Got to appreciate your time this morning. And John, good luck with everything you've got to do. Thank you very much indeed. Good hearing from you.
And thank you to Quentin and to Claire as well for going through the papers with us. Let's get a check on the weather now with Alex Burkle.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some heavy rain pushing its way across many parts through today, and even once that clears, there are going to be some heavy, perhaps even thundery showers following in behind. But yes, a fairly wet start for some of us. The heaviest, most persistent rain clearing eastwards through the day, taking a bit of a while to clear East Anglia and the southeast towards London and Kent. Like I said, behind it, some fairly frequent showers, and worth bearing in mind there will be some hill snow around over higher ground over parts of northern England into Scotland, and some rumbles of thunder mixed in too. But otherwise some bright sunny spells, though temperatures down a little bit, only near normal for the time of year, just about scraping into double digits. Now as we head through into this evening, still a fair few showers around, and conditions. Some of these could still be a little bit on the heavy side. There could still be a bit more thunder, maybe even a bit of hail as well, which could cause some problems on the roads. Many places at risk of seeing a few showers, perhaps some more persistent rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, and a band of rain then sweeping round, also affecting the far northwest of Scotland. But actually, across the northern half of Scotland, through much of today and into this evening, it's going to stay largely dry with some bright or clear weather as well. Overnight, we are going to see that rain across northwestern Scotland and across Northern Ireland, edging a little bit further southeastwards, and also a bit more cloud across some central parts of England and Wales, some outbreaks of rain here as well. But away from this zone of cloudier weather, there will be some clear skies, and in the north across Scotland, where we get the clear skies, some frost is quite likely, even some icy patches perhaps first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, still a bit of a breeze towards eastern parts, lighter winds elsewhere with high pressure building, and that high pressure is also going to help clear away some of those showers. So a few showers around, particularly towards the west and the far east, but actually as we go through the day and more so by Friday, it's looking largely dry. Some decent bright sunny spells, but temperatures only near normal for the time of year. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Greater Manchester, the A34 is closed northbound along the Kingsway at Cheadle after an accident causing long delays. On the M25 in Essex, the inside lanes closed clockwise just before junction 27 for the M11, where a lorry's broken down. Slow towards there from junction 26 at Waltham Abbey. And 2 out of 4 lanes are closed anti-clockwise after an accident between junctions 28 and 27 from the A12 to the M11, taking nearly half an hour in queues. On that side, now in Kent, the A2 is partly blocked each way by an accident between Faversham and Sittingbourne, causing delays. In East Sussex, the A275 is closed each way between Cooksbridge and South Chailey after an accident. And there are a couple of problems in Devon. On the M5, there's a lane closure northbound where someone's broken down between junctions 29 and 28 near Exeter. And the A38 is partly blocked westbound by an accident at the Ford of Valley interchange at Plymouth, causing queues. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you. So the Prime Minister has been busy. He's slashed foreign aid in order to boost defence spending.
Well, bowing to pressure from President Trump ahead of tomorrow's meeting, the UK is now encouraging Europe to step up too.
A new approach on defence.
Have we got a
revival of our industrial base, a deepening of our alliances.
But the move has drawn criticism, with charities warning it could damage Britain's influence abroad.
John Healey, we've just spoken to him. He's the Defence Secretary, and this is what he had to say.
This is the biggest increase in defence spending for this country since the end of the Cold War. It's the delivery of a Labour manifesto commitment that we made to the British public at the election, and we're doing this 3 years earlier than anyone thought we would do.
John Healey.
Yes, John Healey saying that the world has changed, that big boost to defence spending, but will it be enough to satisfy Donald Trump? The Prime Minister will meet him tomorrow.
Breaking news on small boat crossings, as more than 2,000 people have arrived this year alone.
The Waleses in Wales, Prince William and Princess Catherine, will visit Pontypridd today, and that's ahead of St David's Day, which is on Saturday.
Ace.
An estimated 1.2 million people in the UK have an eating disorder. We'll be hearing from experts about what they're doing to raise awareness of people's struggles.
We have some heavy rain today, also a bit of hill snow and some hail and thunder possible too. To find out more, stay tuned as I'll have the details coming up.
It's a Wednesday morning. A very good morning to you, whether you're watching or whether you're listening. Maybe you're heading out or heading home, and you've got us on your radio as well. You're very welcome. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So it's foreign aid budgets and defence spending we're talking about today, and you've all been very good having your say on this. What do you think the mood is?
Well, loads of you getting in touch. 80 says those upset by reduction in aid could always increase their own donations. Kev has suggested a GoFundMe type page on the government website, so if people are upset about this, they can donate from their own pockets instead of from ours.
Well, certainly you've been very animated about everything that you've had to say, and we've been running a poll this morning, and that poll basically says, you know, is Keir Starmer right to cut the foreign aid budget? Guess what? 99% of you say yes, absolutely. But a lot of people in the Labour Party and a lot of the media as well are not very happy about this. But I put it to you this morning that you would rather see money being spent at home, whether it's on the armed forces or whether it's on heating the elderly or helping the farmers or taking the homeless off the street or helping the drugs problem throughout the country. You would prefer that your money is spent here in your country. And then we've got those figures today, 2,000 migrants, illegal migrants in the first few months of the year, just the first 3 months of the year, have just arrived in the country. What's that going to do to budgets?
Michael says stop foreign aid, increase defence spending to 5%, bring back national service, forget net zero, give people their heating back. Chris says funny that there was no money for the pensioners during this winter. And Peter says foreign aid should only be used for when disaster occurs, not to bankroll corrupt countries or backhanders to crooks and criminals.
OK, £6 billion. That's what the Prime Minister announced in terms of cuts to foreign aid. He will increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. That'll be in the next 2 years, up from 2.3. So it's minimal. It is absolutely minimal what he's planning to increase. This is what he had to say.
We will keep our manifesto commitment to spend 2.5% of our GDP on defence. But in light of the grave threats that we face, we will bring forward that target so we meet it in 2027. We will also set out a clear ambition for defence spending to rise to 3% of GDP in the next Parliament. We will fund the initial increase in defence spending by cutting our spending on overseas development, moving from 0.5% of GNI to 0.3%.
This man has a credibility problem, and we go to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, on this. And Catherine, you know, he's saying he's going to be spending 13 billion. Other people have looked at the figures and said, catch yourself on, it's only 6 billion. And you don't know with him, you don't know what budgets he brings forward or how he's shuffling the pack or whatever. But one thing, Catherine, for sure, very strongly, GB viewers and listeners, they're basically saying, your foreign aid budget, you can stuff it. We're not interested. We don't care about foreign aid. Who does? And it is controversial, isn't it? It's creating a lot of trouble.
Well, yes, and there'll be plenty of Labour MPs, indeed there are plenty of Labour MPs, deeply, deeply unhappy about the decision that the Prime Minister has taken to cut foreign aid from 0.5% down to 0.3%. The intention had been to go in the opposite direction. Plenty of charities very unhappy as well, and others pointing out that some of this money is used to help keep us safe effectively by keeping people in their own countries, improving things there. But look, this is a difficult decision, no question, but it is clear that the time has come to spend much more on defence, because pretty much since the end of the Cold War, we've had this peace dividend. Ourselves and plenty of other European countries simply haven't spent as much as we used to on defence. We haven't felt that we needed to, because we didn't think we'd see a war in Europe again. That changed 3 years ago, and Europe basically has been playing catch up ever since. And then, of course, with Donald Trump coming in a month ago, America has suddenly made it very, very clear, A, that Europe can't rely on America to basically have our back, and also that it's time that Europe stepped up and paid much, much more for its own defence. So I think this decision was inevitable. It's a lot of money. Sure, there seems to have been some creative accounting. The Prime Minister says it's an extreme 13 billion for defence, but it sounds like a lot less when you take inflation into account. But it's partly about sending a message, isn't it, to Donald Trump. The Prime Minister will be doing PMQs today. Then he will be getting on a flight to the White House, talking to Trump tomorrow. Worth bearing in mind that Trump has said very clearly that Europe should be spending 5% of its GDP on defence. We're better than a lot of countries in Europe, worth saying, Germany in particular. And we have led the way on Ukraine from the very beginning, first under Boris Johnson, later under Rishi Sunak, and now under Starmer. But a huge, huge moment coming tomorrow with that meeting with Donald Trump. Emmanuel Macron there on Monday, Zelensky there on Friday. Critically important that the PM, Macron and Zelensky, managed to persuade Trump to give Europe and Ukraine American backing so that Russia knows that it can't come back again later, either for more bits of Ukraine or for potentially another European country.
OK, Catherine Forster there for us in Westminster. Thank you very much. Well, it all leads into our poll of the day. Today we're asking, is Sir Keir Starmer right to cut foreign aid to boost defence? Well, the results are pretty clear. 99% of you say he is right. 1% say he's not. You've still got time to get involved in this poll today. You can scan the QR code on your screen now, or you can head to gbnews.com/poll.
The Prince and Princess of Wales are going to visit South Wales today, Pontypridd. And that's ahead of St David's Day, which is on Saturday. And during their time there, their Royal Highnesses will spend time with members of the local community. They'll hear about life in the town, including its struggles with flooding from Storm Bert and Storm Dara in December last year. Let's get more from Cameron Walker, our royal correspondent.
Well, this fills me with joy because if you remember last year, Prince William had to go to Wales solo for St David's Day because it was only a couple of weeks before the Princess of Wales did that brave video on camera announcing that she had been diagnosed with cancer. Of course, Prince William knew what was happening at the time. It was around the height of the frenzy about #WhereIsKateMiddleton, if you remember. Yeah. So this year is going to be completely different because we know the Princess of Wales is going to be accompanying Prince William. She's in remission and is continuing her gradual return to public duty. So there's going to be 2 stops, we believe. The first is to a local market in the little village town of Pontypridd. It's been the focus point of the town since 1805, and I'm told that they may even be making some Welsh cakes themselves. So keep a look out for that. We'll keep you updated on GB News. They'll also, as you said, Eamonn, be supporting and speaking to residents who were severely affected by the flooding caused by those 2 storms earlier this year, Bert and Storm Dara. So it should be a really lovely engagement.
And they both love Wales, don't they? I mean, they both lived there for a time.
They did. So they lived on Anglesey when the Prince of Wales was a RAF search and rescue helicopter pilot, when Prince George was incredibly young. So they do have an affinity with Wales. It is very much close to their hearts. Of course, St David's Day is on Saturday, and William and Catherine tend to not do engagements on a Saturday, I suspect because they want to spend time with their children, who, of course, are incredibly young. But I must just tell you about another story which happened yesterday. I was with the Queen in Canterbury yesterday on behalf of the Royal Rota. She was celebrating the distinguished author Aphra Behn, the first professional female author, but she revealed something very special about her personal life. If you remember her dog Beth, her Jack Russell, tragically died a couple of months ago. Well, she revealed that she's got a new one. Take a listen to what the Queen said.
I've just got a new puppy who's 8 weeks old.
So we're told she's got a new puppy. The puppy is called Molly, she says, because it looks like a mole, though, Ellie. That's why she called it Molly. So the mother, we know, was half Jack Russell and half unknown. The dad, they don't know who the dog was. It's a rescue puppy, 8 weeks old, born on Boxing Day, and she rescued it from Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, of which she is patron.
Well done, Mom. And the advice is adopt, don't shop.
Absolutely.
She's leading the way on that one.
She certainly is, and she has done for a number of years, and I'm sure she'll continue to do so.
Has she tried to adopt you?
Not quite yet.
Following her around on tour.
I know, not quite yet.
Cameron, lovely stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
OK, time for the Great British Giveaway. If you're not in, you can't win. Here you go.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Yes, good luck. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we're talking about body image. We're going to be raising awareness about eating disorders. That's next.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I'm here in M. Manzi's, which is now the oldest surviving pie and eel shop in London. It's been open since 1892, and as you said in the intro there, it's really sort of a dying breed. One of the sister sites of this shop, the distant relative, owned one of their own other shops in Deptford, and that closed on Saturday for the very last time. They've been open for over 100 years. So you clearly see that there's a declining, not necessarily a declining interest, that's the wrong way of putting it, but it's nowhere near as prevalent as it used to be. This was a staple of the East End, and it's now gone from about 300 shops in the Victorian times to under 40 now, and it's declining further and further. Now, also, a couple of months ago, I was in Basildon talking about a similar story with Richard Holden, trying to create a protected status for pie and mash to prevent sort of copycats from stealing the recipe and making it less authentic. So that is ongoing. There's clearly interest in it, and tourists enjoy coming in here. Hopefully, I'll get one of my own pies shortly and have another taste. But it would be a shame to see this go. It's not just about the pie and the taste and the flavour, which is fantastic. It's also about history and community. A lot of people come in here as regulars, so we're just shining a light on a crucial part of London's historic economy. It's a bit of good fun, and it certainly tastes very good as well. Demographics have changed, yeah, and actually a lot of the ownership, the people who would run these shops traditionally over the last few decades are moving out towards the west, they're moving towards Kent, they're moving towards Sussex. So there are demographic changes, and no doubt that is influencing it as well. And as I say, it's important to do stories like this just to remind people of London's history and why it's important to support these local businesses.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 16 minutes past 9. Now, we're going to be talking now about eating disorders because it spans a spectrum from overeating to undereating.
But how much does the condition have to do with your brain, with your mental health? Joining us in studio, mental health expert Noel McDermott with all of this. I think, Noel, often when people talk about eating disorders and eating problems, they do think of the bigger person, but not always the case.
It's important to distinguish. We've got an obesity issue in the UK, like in many Western countries, but that's separate to things like eating disorders, which are specific disorders around relationship to body image and relationship to food, and often uncomfortable, what we call purging behaviours.
And this can start from when you're very young, can't it? These bad relationships with food.
Yeah.
So what can you do in terms of early intervention when you're growing up to have that better relationship?
I think that what guides me is the idea that, you have this idea, when you want to be fit, you go to the gym regularly and you exercise regularly, and then you know that you're fit and healthy. The same comes with psychological fitness. There are things that you can do on a regular basis within your family. Having regular conversations about signs and symptoms of problems, being open to discussing psychological problems, and putting in place general health and well-being things that you'll get from things like lifestyle medicine, for example, which is an evidence-based approach that many GPs are adopting now. So learning the importance of exercise, nutrition, the 80-20 split in nutrition. Stress management, oddly, is an absolutely central plank because stress plays a central role in all.
I would have eaten, if I was depressed, eaten quite a lot, and I'd have eaten quite a lot to celebrate, to be happy. So I was eating both directions.
Absolutely. I was, you'll know this, I come from the generation where sugar was thought to be OK, and where you'd have bottles of Lucozade when you were going into hospital, which is essentially liquid sugar.
It's recovery.
That's right. And my mum's approach is was an Irish woman, and her approach was to give us cakes when we were upset. And that was it.
Food.
Absolutely.
But listen, what your mother also did was cook your food. Cook your lunch and your dinner.
Well, she did. She was my in my school. She was the dinner lady. So she literally did that.
But then, my friend, it all changed. It all became processed, pre-packed. We do. I mean, I know what meals my mother served up. She would have to go and make them and put them down in front of her sons. But now we eat in between. We graze. We buy. We get more. There's more stuff, and it's
absolutely
bad stuff.
And also, I think the key thing is that often we're disconnected from the social function of eating together.
Yes.
And having a healthy relationship within other people, because obviously food isn't just fuel. It has a really important part in our psychological makeup. And if that gets distorted or damaged in some way, then there's a real problem. There's a genuine problem. And having healthy attitudes towards the importance of food as a social negotiator is what's really important. Food shouldn't replace the emotional support needs that we have, because we're designed as social animals to get those needs met from other humans.
So if people are watching and listening this morning and they're concerned about a family member, perhaps they're concerned about a child that might be displaying signs of an eating disorder, what would your advice be?
My advice is don't get worried about it, and don't imagine that this solution is a specialist service that's going to fix your child. There's a lot you can do as a family in terms of this general sense of health and well-being, but specifically educate yourselves and your child on the signs and symptoms and be open to discussing them as a family. One of the things that happens with these types of conditions is because they become chronic, which means long-term and complicated, the family can become ill, in inverted commas. And it's really important that the family understand that the best thing they can do for the what we call the identified patient is to stay well and not get caught up in the illness. So that means that that person that you love is likely to try and copy your wellness.
Lead by example.
Lead by example, that's exactly it.
Well, we've got to leave it there. Thanks for the advice.
Thanks, Noel.
Thank you.
Thinking about what's ahead for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, if you need this support, head to beateatingdisorders.org.uk.
Bev and Andrew coming up from 9:30. Guys, just want to pass on to you from us the reaction about the Prime Minister's speech yesterday. 99% of people in the poll today want rid of the foreign aid budget. They don't see the point of it. Spend it at home.
Who's the 1%?
I'm a little torn on that issue.
I'm not.
Well, I am a little torn on it because we can't really complain about people arriving here on small boats from countries that we've bombed into oblivion if we don't think we have some sort of responsibility to get those countries to live with less poverty so that their teenagers aren't arriving here.
Still paying billions of pounds.
We're paying
it needs auditing.
And people, 2,000 so far this year, are still coming. Yeah. So us obviously doing stuff abroad is not stopping.
We're not doing the right stuff abroad. That's the issue. When we talk about these economic migrants, these 20-year-old men who are coming here for a better life, they shouldn't have to come here for a better life. They should have a decent life in their own countries.
You know what? My point is, I'm not interested in their life. I'm interested in the people who are lying here, drugged up in the streets, people who are homeless, people who can't heat their own homes. I could go on and on. Why am I worried about him for?
I'm not.
I'm also worried about those people, which is why I'm not entirely, again, there's points of difference this morning, which is why I'm not entirely on board with us spending more money on bombs, on defence, because for that very reason, when I go to bed at night, I don't worry about getting bombed by China or Russia. I worry about my teenagers being stabbed.
You won't know much about it when it happens anyway.
Exactly.
The thing is, we can't rely on America anymore. That's why we have to spend more.
We're in NATO.
Yeah.
We will be relatively
NATO last with Trump?
And on a more jolly note, we're going to be talking to the parents of this little boy on the front page of Express today, a farmer's son, about the farmers and this young lad.
We're worried about him. And
me too.
His family.
Me too.
What's going to happen to the farm that's been in their family for generations?
Absolutely. So important.
And we've also got Jonathan Aitken, former Tory minister, went to prison for perjury. He's now a prison chaplain, coming in to talk about what life's going to be like for that MP who's appealing his sentence. He's been sentenced to 10 weeks in prison.
Yes, the moral aspect of
Absolutely.
that.
And a story that we didn't cover yesterday, which we probably should have done. Every paper yesterday had the same front page, didn't it? Here we go. This AI story, which is about the fact that anybody in the creative industries, whether you write music, whether you create interior design, whether you write books, your intellectual property will be free for all to use.
Thanks, Keir Starmer's government. Blowing the rules on copyright.
And actually, that was on the front page of every single paper.
Every regional paper, every local paper in the entire United Kingdom.
We're talking about dissertations at university and whatever, and basically AI seems to do it for them.
Writing theses.
I have two teenage girls, and we talk about this all the time. They use it. They use it. They have to learn to use it.
I've got a confession. She's AI.
I'm a hologram.
Guys, have a good show. Thank you very much indeed from Miss Ellie and me. Thank you for watching. It's appreciated. See you in the morning.
Have a good day.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some heavy rain pushing its way across many parts through today, and even once that clears, there are going to be some heavy, perhaps even thundery showers following in behind. But yes, a fairly wet start for some of us. The heaviest, most persistent rain clearing eastwards through the day, taking a bit of a while to clear East Anglia and the southeast towards London and Kent. Like I said, behind it, some fairly frequent showers, and worth bearing in mind there will be some hill snow around over higher ground over parts of northern England into Scotland, and some rumbles of thunder mixed in too. But otherwise some bright sunny spells, though temperatures down a little bit, only near normal for the time of year, just about scraping into double digits. Now as we head through into this evening, still a fair few showers around, and some of these could still be a little bit on the heavy side. There could still be a bit more thunder, maybe even a bit of hail as well, which could cause some problems on the roads. Many places at risk of seeing a few showers, perhaps some more persistent rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, and a band of rain then sweeping round, also affecting the far northwest of Scotland. But actually, across the northern half of Scotland, through much of today and into this evening, it's going to stay largely dry with some bright or clear weather as well. Overnight, we are going to see that rain across northwestern Scotland and across Northern Ireland, edging a little bit further southeastwards, and also a bit more cloud across some central parts of England and Wales, some outbreaks of rain here as well. But away from this zone of cloudier weather, there will be some clear skies, and in the north across Scotland, where we get the clear skies, some frost is quite likely, even some icy patches perhaps first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, still a bit of a breeze towards eastern parts, lighter winds elsewhere with high pressure building, and that high pressure is also going to help clear away some of those showers. So a few showers around, particularly towards the west and the far east, but actually as we go through the day and more so by Friday, it's looking largely dry. Some decent bright sunny spells, but temperatures only near normal for the time of year. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Greater Manchester, the A34 is closed northbound on Kingsway in Cheadle after an accident causing long delays. On the M56 in Cheshire, there are 2 lanes closed eastbound at junction 14 near Chester after a breakdown. There are queues from junction 15 for the M53. On the M25 in Essex, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed anti-clockwise after an accident between junctions 28 and 27 from the A12 to the M11, taking half an hour in the queues. On the M4 in Berkshire, there's a lane closed eastbound where a car's broken down between junctions 10 and 8-9 from Wokingham to Maidenhead, causing delays. In East Sussex, the A275 is closed each way between Cooksbridge and South Chailey after an accident, and in Devon, the A38 is partly blocked westbound by an accident at the Forder Valley interchange in Plymouth, causing queues, and there are now eastbound queues towards there too from the Mallerton roundabout. And that's the latest.